Hello and welcome back to another episode of Podcast 572. As always, I'm your host, Kyle. This week, Matt is out currently, so I will say, before I introduce our very special guest, Matt is out currently. He was affected by the hurricane that's going on. He and his family are safe. He will be back with us next time, but he's still in the process of getting like his internet up, so he'll be back with us next time. But in his absence, some of you may remember from early episodes of this podcast, Erik has joined us.
Hi,
so
I'm here.
You're back to talk to us about the PlayStation Portal, right?
Oh man, it's still going. I still use it. I don't know, almost not daily, but almost daily. Yeah, it's holding up well. Yeah, I wish it came in a different color than white because it does get a little grubby.
But it does. You just can't get it.
Oh, that's true. Yeah, that's true.
They made an anniversary one, right?
Yeah. I did not get that, shockingly enough.
It's weird considering how successful that thing is. They have not made color variants of it yet,
especially since they just came out with like new panels and stuff. And
yeah, it's still a cool device here and there. Still, I have some hitching issues here and there when I feel like I shouldn't because I have a pretty small house, but they're pretty minimal, so it's going great. Yeah.
Have you ever tried to take it away from your house and use it?
Yeah, it has worked. Yeah, I brought it to North Carolina for work, and I played it over the hotel Wi-Fi.
Wow!
And it worked like hitch a little bit, or
it was playable. I'll put it that way. Yeah, it was. It was not perfect by any means, but I was also playing Fallout 4, and I don't know what it is. Bethesda games do not play well on the Portal.
They don't play well in general.
Well, I suppose that's fair, but maybe it's just like that minuscule amount of delay or what. I don't know what it is, but it's both Oblivion. Not Oblivion. Skyrim and Fallout. They both just feel like shit to play on the Portal specifically. It's very odd. But yeah, anyway, that's your Portal update. You're welcome. See you guys.
Yeah, well, we can kick off with what we've been playing and everything. I don't have too much. I did download. I did mention before we started recording. I did download Shattered Skies for Starfield. I've not touched it yet. I saw those reviews hit and said I'll get to it. So I haven't touched it yet. But the biggest thing I played is I've done 3 different playthroughs of Dead Rising Deluxe Remaster. I did not finish because and I'll get into it, but I did start the 7-day survivor thing. You can save it now.
Right.
So, you can advance time in that mode. So if you really want, I learned this after I suspended. I have not gone back. You can make that achievement effectively within 90 minutes.
That's weird.
If you follow a specific guide that people already put together.
Okay.
But yeah, you can because you can advance time. So one of the cool things that they did, and you can advance time in the regular game too. It's not just exclusive to that. But one of the cool things they did in the game is so if you visit anything that's a safe place, like a bed or a bathroom or anything like that, you have the option to just advance time. So like if you're doing a specific playthrough to get let's say you're doing a playthrough where you just want to get all the people out. Yeah.
Right.
You can advance time and just move through the game that way. I have played it both on PC and Xbox. They did some sort of deal where I got on PC for $20. So I was like, I guess I'll do it because I'm gonna probably stream that version this month anyways. It plays great on both. Every version of the game, and apparently on the PlayStation 5 version as well, it has one specific point in the game where it has like a major frame rate issue, and it is the intro, like the entrance to the mall. but it's not just the intro. It is anytime you walk in the front. For whatever
where
reason,
that part happens.
it just takes. So yeah, at the beginning when like the zombies are coming through,
right?
Yeah, and then like okay, I get that, but it is anytime throughout your playthrough you walk just in the front entrance area right there, it tanks.
There must be something that like there must be something about that area that loads strange.
It's something they're probably going to have to patch,
or maybe maybe it's like rendering stuff outside.
That's what I'm wondering because you're really close to the windows, and like they did, like especially when you go through the intro where you're on the helicopter going into town, like they redid all of that town outside. So like,
I saw some of that. I did see some like comparison shots of the first one where some of that looks worse. Like the explosion and stuff looks bad.
The explosion looks a little worse, yeah. Like they talk about the gas station.
Yeah, it doesn't look like a real explosion.
It kind of looks goofy.
Yeah.
But the whole thing's been rebuilt in the re-engine, which I've said like the re-engine has been the best thing Capcom's ever done, but we're now pushing the limits of that engine, and it's been we're getting close to a decade of that engine. Yeah. So they might be getting to the point where they're going to need to do an update to that thing. But that has paid dividends for them with all these different releases. But yeah, every aspect of Dead Rising, everything is intact with that game. Like everything that you remember, you can look at YouTube videos and watch side-by-side comparisons. Like it's Dead Rising again. So the other major difference, I think I talked about it last time too, but all of the dialogue is voice now. Some of the achievements they've made easier too outside of 7 Days Survivor. So like in the original, remember you had to listen to every Otis call. That sucked.
And if you didn't know, you'd mess it up.
Now it's 30.
That's good.
So, and it counts if you like hit the right bumper and skip them. It does still count.
Oh, thank God.
So you don't have to actually sit there and listen because it gets intense.
Too much.
Some points where it's like, here's 5 of them in a row, and then you don't have any for the next 5 hours. But yeah, every other part of it is just a blast. I did my first playthrough with just getting the zombie genocide achievement. I did my second playthrough, which went through like overtime mode. And then right now I have a playthrough going where I'm trying to get all the survivors out of the mall. And they have also heavily upgraded the way survivors react and the AI around them.
So they don't just stop in place sometimes and just
they like it works a lot better to tell them to go to a specific area.
Okay.
And I in fact I don't even remember if the original one you could tell them like go to this corner. I can't remember. I know that was in 2, but I don't remember if that was in the original one. You could tell them to go to specific places. You can give them things and they'll use them for the most part. There is a couple people that are characters in the game like I won't take a gun or I won't take it, but for the most part they'll take stuff. But they're a lot more resilient. They've also added and so everything they added in this game was cut content from the original that just either didn't work or just wasn't possible on the 360. Some of those are books. So like there's a new book. There's a new book where you can get you can pick up this book. It's like in the hallway in the North Plaza where any item that you throw just fucking explodes.
Sure.
That's a pretty cool one. There's a couple other ones too that I'm still searching for. I want to say I saw that there's one where you can get infinite of the Mega Buster.
Oh wow.
I saw something about that. So you don't have to keep running back. But that's cut content from the game. The rocket launcher was famously cut from the original game. They actually will drop in now the soldiers in overtime mode with the rocket launchers, so it gets pretty chaotic. Soldiers are also much harder in this remaster than they were in the original. Like they were already kind of a bitch in the original. They seem harder. I was gonna
say, I remember them being awful in the original.
They seem harder in this game. So, but then
maybe
oddly
you're just
enough,
worse at games.
Well, oddly enough, then the final boss, which is that army sergeant that you fight at the end on the tank, seemed easier to me. So I don't know. Like he didn't seem very hard to dispatch. Where I remember him being a real bitch in the original game. So
it's been so long.
But it's a fantastic remake of the game. Highly recommended. That physical edition's out, I think, in November.
Yep.
So if you're waiting on that, like I said, it's one of the streams I do this month in October will be Dead Rising on PC. When that is, I don't know. And then the other thing that I've played is I caved and bought the Final Fantasy Pixel remaster because it came out on the Xbox. and it was on
like
sale.
out of nowhere. Yeah.
Well, it was on sale too, and that's what tipped me off.
That was the strangest part, is it came out immediately on sale on Xbox.
Yeah, that's why I did it, because I'm like, you know what? I can play it now. I can play it between the two systems that I have, and the way that game installs, it doesn't really, like, a disc is kind of weird for it, because the way it installs separately.
It just installs each game by itself.
So even though for whatever reason, I installed all 6 games, even though I'm not going to play all 6 of them right now. But so I've played like 3 hours of the original Final Fantasy, and it is a game that I had to sit and think about this the other night. Like, my first Final Fantasy was Mystic Quest.
Still
which we always laugh at. And then I played a little bit of 3, which we know is 6 now. And then my real jump into the series was 7, like everybody else. But for the most part, everybody else. Some people jumped in at 3. But then I had back in the day played a little bit of 1 on the NES, but it didn't stick with me. So I remember very little bit of the original.
Especially like the original version of it's even worse than these like remasters are. I'm not saying that it's a bad game, but like the original version on NES is really bugged. A lot of status effects don't work, period. And it's just, it never held your hand and told you where to go or what to do.
No, that's it. Like, I am looking at a guide, because it is definitely like you
first couple
don't know. But also, like, I find myself really enjoying it. Like, I mean, maybe I'm just in the mood for like a classic, like end of the 80s RPG, but I'm finding myself really enjoying the story too.
Yeah, it actually has a story to it.
It does have a story too, and then I'm reminded of like how that Stranger Paradise game tied into it, which is like the prequel.
Oh yeah,
and it's
sort of.
It's made me think of like, maybe I should play that after I'm done with this, just because I have it. I've never played it.
You could.
I could do that. I could do that.
You could. Someone who's played in that game, you could.
So I've been thinking about that, but yeah, the next time that we record, that's the Chaos game. The next time I record, I'll be able to talk a little bit more about Starfield. I'll take a look at it, and then also the big game will be Silent Hill. So, which I will be diving into this next week. So, but those are the only 2 like real major games that I've been playing. I will kick it to you, Dan.
I haven't played
one on here that made me laugh.
What? Wait, which one? Oh, well, here we'll
first one.
The first one. Oh, that's just your Dead Island Tide update. We're done. We finished it.
How long was that one in comparison to the original?
It's shorter than the original one for sure. I can say quintessentially, now that we finished this game and I have the platinum for it, this game sucks. It's bad. It's not fun. I even though like the first one is not a good game, I would argue this one is worse.
So is 2 next then?
No, we're in, and the way we're playing these games like is in a kind of like a chronological order of like shitty co-op games.
Okay.
And so actually we're going to go to Dying Light next.
Okay.
Because I don't think you want to jump to a game that's like necessarily better graphically and stuff, and then have to go back to play Dying Light. Yeah. Even though Dying Light I did play a bunch of that when it was out, and that game's actually
did, because I think was that the game where they gave us all like free codes for that?
I think so.
Yeah,
and you and I think played it together for a while.
We did.
It's actually pretty good. It's like I remember playing that game and going, man, this is what Dead Island was supposed to be or should have been.
It was. It should have been.
And just like Riptide is just. It's obvious now that like Dead Island 2 is out. Riptide was never meant to be 2. It was meant to be like it was an expansion that you paid for.
Yeah. Did you ever play? It won't be on your list because it's not a co-op game. But did you ever play that Escape Dead Island?
I own a sealed copy of that.
It's not a bad game.
I've not played it.
That actually is not a bad game.
But yeah, this game it's just like they tried to do new stuff with like that like base defense mechanic. It's boring as fuck. I'm like, oh, you can put up fences. Yeah, until they break through them, and then they don't fucking matter. Just like nothing in this game fucking matters. You never get to a point where you feel powerful. The game is, the max level 70, but at that point you're fighting level 75 zombies. So it doesn't matter. You still it only takes sometimes 2 hits to die.
Yeah.
There's almost no point to how the game works. So it was frustrating because it's more of the same. There's plenty of bullshit in the game with they introduce new zombie types like the Screamer, which is basically the witch from Left 4 Dead, or where she just literally screams and your character like can't do anything. You just stop and like hold your head in your hand.
I was gonna say you probably just hold your head.
Yeah, it's stupid. And then they added what was the other type? There's another type of zombie that they added. Oh, drowners, which are like, because this game is mostly about like water and driving boats around. They jump out of the water and pull you out of the boat.
Wasn't this one all about like a swamp type area?
Kind of. Okay. It's weird because much like the first game, the first half of this game is different from the second half of the game, where the first half is very much like swamp, jungle. You need boats to get around. If you don't have a boat, you're walking through water and it's a nightmare. But then the second half is you get to this town where it's just all town. And it's like going through buildings and doors and all this other stuff.
Okay.
It's just kind of a slog. Like you can kind of run through it. Like, because we had to start a new game plus to get to level 70. Yeah. Which it turns out we actually didn't because we found an exploit. But you can't.
The environmental shift of those games is terrible.
It's so odd.
It's like, because I remember
the first one.
I mean,
the first one's more blatant, like by far.
Totally. And I remember that first night getting it at midnight, I think. Mm-hmm. And then all of us tried to play it together, and it was a buggy nightmare.
It was broken.
I recall having fun, not really in co-op, but I did have fun playing it solo. And then as soon as you get out of that initial area and you're in the sewers, it's immediately unfun. Like the fun immediate, it's just gone.
If they had figured out a way to make that entire game take place on the outside, like on the beach and on the maybe even inside the hotel. Maybe like you have to go back in the hotel.
That game is fun.
There's so much more you can do inside that hotel.
Room to do melee combat,
right?
Like that's like when it's in these tight corridors, that's not innately.
But the
wrong,
thing is,
but you don't have any weapons.
But the thing is you do eventually get back to like an open space. Like there's like a jungle area in that game, but it's sparsely populated. It's not fun. There's something to be said about like before Dead Island 1 and Resident Evil 5 to a certain extent, every zombie game was at night in the dark and it was raining and there were clouds. And then remember they showed Resident Evil 5
everybody
and saw it, we're like, oh shit, it's just broad daylight.
That was crazy.
There's something better about that game. And Dead Island is like that too, where it's like, what if you were at a resort and all hell broke loose? There's like
Dying Light did it so much better, right? It's not a resort, but it plays better. The parkour it actually works so much better. Yeah. And even the story is fun. It takes Did you guys ever play the?
I never got past like maybe halfway through that game.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
I played a little bit of Dying Light 2 as well, which is even better.
Sure if they're tying like Dying Light 2 like DLC into this or not, but after the end of that first game, the DLC, which I think was the following, if I remember, at the end you get turned into a zombie.
Okay.
But you're a super zombie and you got like super powerful claws and you just rip everything apart.
Hey dude, that's kind of like the end of Dead Island Riptide.
Oh no.
Is it?
Oh, they stole it from Dead Island Riptide. I'll tell you what the ending is in a minute.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just saying, like, I thought I saw something like with Dead Island 2 where they're like the Beast or something like that, and it looked like
Dead Island 2 does have that mechanic.
Okay,
they are bringing that mechanic into
that
DLC
DLC
that they
Dead Island had like the rage mechanic,
right?
Which, to be fair, I barely ever used because it takes too long to build that meter, and then if you die, you lose the meter.
Yeah,
and you could die in 2 hits, even if you're not doing anything. But
when you guys eventually do start Dying Light, I'll join you guys on that one because I love that game.
Hey man, the more people in a C tier game, the better.
Is that actually true? I don't know if that's
true. Probably not.
Does that game, because I know the original had this problem, I would assume Riptide has it too, does it have like that, mid 2010s, like the save doesn't really work very well for everyone?
It's busted to shit in this game.
Awesome.
To the point where if you try to invite someone and the saves don't sync, not only do you get a game level message, you get a system level message.
Oh, awesome.
Like my PlayStation told me, hey, your stuff's not going to work.
Awesome.
And it's like, so it can break pretty easy. The bonus side is it does let you join other people no matter where you are in the game because it really doesn't care. But we did use that kind of mechanic to end up duping these like repeatable quest items to get to level 70 quick.
Okay.
But let me tell you the end of Dead Island Riptide in just a minute because I just remembered it now.
I won't play it.
So fucking dumb. So, of course, the girl that helps you at the beginning of the game is the bad guy. So when you get to the secret lab at the end, there's something about, and like, remember, I'm not paying too much attention to the story because I don't really give a shit. But there's something about like we're here to find like a serum, and the serum will help us or something. I don't know.
Yeah.
But so instead, you're trying to talk her down from we need to get the hell out of here. But she's like, no, they're just going to do it everywhere because it turns out, of course, this island was the testing ground for the government to see what would happen and how things would evolve. So she decides to you go through like one phase where you're fighting her, and then when it gets to phase 2, you get a cutscene where she injects herself with like multiple things of the serum at once.
Hell yeah, she does.
And I swear to you, Tyler and I thought this at exactly the same time. Man, she just kind of looks like the Joker from the end of Arkham Asylum now, because she like doubles in size.
So she turns into one of those.
She like doubles.
Green mohawk.
It's weird because she still looks like herself, but she just kind of like doubles in size, and it was like. Is this on purpose? I can't tell. So then you go through like the second phase, and when that's done, you get to the third phase, and guess what you do in the third phase? You
inject yourself.
I was gonna say you do.
Yeah.
But I don't double the size.
Of course,
I'm special. I'm special, so I can control the serum.
Weren't they called Titans?
Yeah.
Generically, yeah.
Yeah, but it's so dumb, and then you kill her, and there might have been one other part. I don't know. That game also has that problem that most games have, like we talk about with Tomb Raider all the time, where you fight your way through this entirely complicated complex of buildings through zombies and all this shit, and you get to the end and the other guy's just there. How did you get here?
Sure.
Where did you come from?
He's just hanging out, man.
There's also a plot point early in the game. I don't know if I thought of this when I first started playing it, but they make it very clear that there are no boats. We can't use a boat to get off the island.
Yeah.
I don't even know. Nobody's even heard of what a fucking boat is. And then one of the giant mechanics of the game is you driving these boats around.
Awesome.
Never heard of a boat before, but there's boats everywhere. So dumb. And then you had to have like at the end there's like a luxury liner that you find. You all use it to get off the fucking island.
Awesome.
It's just a shit mess of a game. Looking back on it, playing it in 2024, it's bad now, but it also like playing through it was bad then. Like they're just bad games.
Was that a game that was originally on 360?
Yeah.
And then okay.
It was on PS3.
That's what I thought. Those two games were 360.
Okay. Yeah, I remember, obviously Riptide only existed because they capitalized on the unanticipated success of the first.
It was a quick turnaround,
right.
Yeah.
And like I said, it's definitely DLC that grew into a full game because you can just port your character in, you keep your level. It's not, it's like maybe half as long. It was clearly meant to be DLC that was full price. But finally those two are gone.
Done.
You did it.
Don't worry. I'm not worried about those. I deleted it within about 5 seconds of the platinum. Other than that, I started playing Wolfenstein New Order.
Have you not played any of these?
I've never finished it. Never finished it.
Okay.
It's a great game.
You've not played
it's an awesome game. I never played
the
any
next one after it.
Never played any of them fully. That game's awesome. It's just a dumb Wolfenstein shooter game. I like the fact that it's like you can play stealth. Nah, fuck that shit. Like some parts it kind of forces you to. I don't like the mechanic in games where, especially in a game like Wolfenstein, where you have all these guns and you can dual wield all these guns. And then you get to like level 4 and it's like, we're going to take all your guns away.
Yeah.
Oh, come on, man. Like, it's Wolfenstein.
Yeah.
That's the complete opposite of what you do. But like, you have to play through that level. But it's like, this is the opposite of what Wolfenstein is.
Yeah.
But I'm probably halfway through. It's really good. I like.
Are you going to do the other there's the Old Blood?
I own the dual pack of the ones, and then I think I own 2.
Old Blood is
and then there's Young Blood was the futuristic one with the 2. That one's not bad either if you play co-op.
I did not love that one.
Well, yeah, I bought the dual pack. I must have got it for cheap for PS4 at some point.
Okay.
So I'm just playing through that. It's actually 2 discs in there too, which is cool. So I'm just kind of playing through that, and then I did play the hot new release of the week, but only for about 2 hours. I played the new Zelda game. I really like it. It's really fun. It's a puzzle game. It is not.
Yeah.
It's. I don't know if anybody's expecting it to just be like a regular Zelda game with Link or whatever. It's straight up just puzzles and figuring out like how to build these things to get to where you need to get to. Figuring out like how things work together, because like I have a trampoline now.
Is it presented as like a sequel to Link's Awakening?
No,
in a
not
way?
at all.
No, even though it's in that art style. Okay.
I don't know. Well, you got to remember, Link's Awakening didn't actually happen. Link's Awakening, the game is a dream.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
So it couldn't really technically be a sequel. But it's such not a sequel that in the beginning, Link does not have a name. And as you're going around as Zelda, you're kind of like learning about him and where he's from.
Interesting. Okay.
At one point, because you saw the trailer where basically like he comes in and saves her, and then he gets sucked.
Yeah.
It's all about like these portals and things. And you have to like go into the portals and shut them down. Think of them like Oblivion gates, if you will.
Okay. Yeah, that makes sense.
It's like a dungeon inside, and you kind of solve it, and then it shuts it off.
Okay.
And that's how you gain more power to spawn more things. Yeah, the only thing is weird about the game so far is constantly teaching you new mechanics. Like, so early on, it's like, oh, here, you can make this stuff. You can learn this stuff, and then you can make it. And then it's like, well, also you can use me to move stuff around. Okay, well, also now you can have a sword sometimes. And it's just like, it's keep adding stuff on. Yeah. It's like, okay, I guess so. So, like, there are parts where, like, you get a magic sword, which you can use for a short amount of time to do certain tasks. But a lot of it is, when I fight things, I'm basically summoning enemies to fight them. And they you can capture, kind of quote unquote capture new enemies and stuff, which is kind of fun. It's a lot about just building stuff. It's about resource management and just knowing, like if you build 3 things and you go to build a 4th, the first one will disappear. And even if that's like part of a stack, it can affect what the stack size is. So if you're using it to build like something to climb on, you can like build a table and then build a box and then jump on the box and then make a box on the table and jump on that.
Okay.
So you can get up kind of like a half step at a time. But you only have so many things before the towers start changing size and all this other stuff, and then you can't get down. It leads to some weird things where you're trying to solve a puzzle and you end up getting like trapped in a corner and then killed by something. There's also been a couple chests that I've encountered so far that I don't think I can get yet. Even though they were in the first dungeon, I might have just been thinking about building it wrong.
Yeah.
Or maybe I need another piece, but it's interesting so far. And like, certain stuff floats on water. So you use that as a mechanic. Certain stuff sinks. Certain stuff crushes stuff.
That's interesting.
You kind of have to think. I will say that managing the things you can make is probably could have been done better, because think of it as like the Breath of the Wild where you look at your weapons and it's just like scroll all the way to the sides and stuff. This is the same thing. So I have like 15 things I can make. So I pull up the menu and it's just all in a straight line.
Yeah, that's kind of...
You can sort it, but it really should probably just be like in a grid.
Probably.
And maybe it should be like things that are 1 level high or 2 level. I don't know. Maybe I'm missing something I need to play around with. It's kind of a bad system especially considering I'm only 2 hours in the game and maybe have 5% of the map open. There might be a lot more things that I'm going to have to scroll through constantly. Yeah, but it's fun. I love the art style. There's a lot of reviews out there about like it hitching and stuff.
Yeah.
I haven't seen too much of it other than when the game needs to delete something. It's almost like it thinks for a second about, okay, this thing needs to be deleted. Or you can hold down a button to delete everything you've made, and it has to kind of think about, I got to delete everything. So maybe that's where it falls. I don't know if that's necessarily fixable, because that's the game, like, obviously processing something. And we are on 8-year-old hardware at this point.
We are.
And not to say that like the graphics of this game are pushing the limits, but they're very good.
It's a specific art style.
Oh, I love this art style more than,
because it's the same like kind of like clayish type, like it's
Link's Awakening. And that's why I think you would think it's a sequel.
Yeah,
just
that's
because
what I thought.
It feels like that game too.
Mm-hmm.
But it's just definitely its own thing. Which is cool, because this is the kind of thing where if this I think if this one takes off,
Sure,
it can easily this is like its own.
They could easily do its own. Yeah. I feel like it is because I've seen enough people talking about it. So
they need to bring back more like the weird stuff that they just try with Zelda.
They do.
I told you I hooked up the GameCube for my son.
Yeah.
And I got all my Cube games out and sorted them out and put them up there. And he was looking at Four Swords. He's like, "What's this?" I'm like, "You can play Four Swords. Four Swords is cool because it is kind of simple." Especially if you're not playing with four people because it's not chaos. Yeah. So he's just been playing through that by himself. But he's having a good time because it's very like linear, go through this level.
Low key, yeah.
Yeah. So I think they should try more Zelda stuff like this to get more people into it. Because this Echoes of Wisdom game, I don't think it's necessarily hard for someone like me, but like I said, it's puzzle solving with all of these items. And sometimes I have to sit there and think for a second about how I'm going to build a path. So I don't know if it's necessarily like for kids. It really doesn't feel like it. Whereas something like
that's what I was
Breath of the Wild, you could kind of say is because you can just turn on and run around and explore. This is not like that.
Is it rated E10 maybe? Because
I don't even remember.
That seems like maybe they would do that.
I don't know. It's just it's again, it's not difficult. It's not difficult for me, but it's going to be difficult for
a younger kid, like kids. under a certain age,
under
probably
10,
might have a hard time.
Yeah, just putting it together. But
I decided this week I made a pact that if we don't have an announcement by the end of this year of a new Switch, I will start breaking into this massive Switch backlog and start playing these games.
I still think we're going to get it. I think we'll get it like November.
But like I'm getting to the point where I'm like because I got my copy of Zelda 5 days late, thanks Best Buy.
Right. Whereas I wasn't
going to open it anyways.
Whereas I just walked into a GameStop and said, "Can I have a copy of Zelda?" And they said, "Yeah, here you go."
That's what I'm planning on doing for Silent Hill this week because I was like, oh, I'd forgotten it was coming out. I was like, oh, I'll just order on Amazon really quick. Right now it's not scheduled to show up till like the following Friday, and I was like, I'm just gonna go to like Walmart or something.
I would just go into a place and Walmart should probably have it.
Walmart will probably have it, so I'm just gonna do that on Tuesday and just like whatever. Yeah. But I made that the other day. I was like, as I got my copy of Zelda without that acrylic thing or whatever.
Yeah,
of
fuck
course.
You and your acrylic stand.
Did you even get that? No,
Best Buy. I would if I would have pre-ordered at GameStop. It was like some kind of fabric poster or something.
Okay.
But the Zelda launch at GameStop was a shit show too because they weren't even there before release day. They got massive, like, I know people that work there, and there was one where like it's going to show up on the release day between this and this time. Oh, good. Luckily, it was before open, but even still, like that's fucked up.
Yeah, for
that
me,
shouldn't be happening at GameStop. I don't care.
It should be at GameStop.
I don't care if they're collectibles based or what anybody thinks about them or the stock price or whatever. If they give two shits about video games, Zelda should be there. That we would get games sometimes a week in advance, right?
Yeah. Oh yeah. We certainly would
stock them in the stock room and be ready to go.
I remember, especially at the tail end of the 360 era, I feel like that was common.
Yeah, because like you wanted to have them
just
before.
Have it. Yeah.
But
I remember that.
That means people couldn't even do midnight Zelda releases, or 9 p.m.
Well, like for me, I ordered mine I pre-ordered mine on Best Buy like beginning of September because that was, I don't know, Nintendo and Amazon have never played nice, and they're back in that like we're not playing nice to put up like Switch games. So I was like, I'll go through Best Buy. I've had pretty decent luck with them in the past, and to be fair, they did ship it the day before. And I was like, okay, like it shipped, and I was like, cool, it'll probably be here tomorrow. And then I checked like the scheduled date on the UPS thing or whatever. It's like October 1st. And I'm like, what? Like, huh? And then I was like, oh, maybe it's just like a mistake or something. It'll update later on, whatever. No, it did not update until the following Monday. And it came from California.
That's
so, but no, so the reason I made that claim was the other day, I finally hooked up, and I'll go through this real quick, and then I'll let you go, Eric. I hooked up the other Xbox that Matt sent me to test that Pirates game, and I was like, I'll stream it, make sure this Elgato is still working because I want to stream some of that stuff in October. on the channel that is console based with the Elgato. I haven't used the Elgato. I don't know if I've used it maybe once since I moved into this house. And that was when I played that shitty Fast and Furious game. So it's been a while. And so I was like, all right, I'll hook up and I'll hook it up to this Xbox. And he had told me ahead of time, like, look, I'll send you this Xbox. You can do whatever you want with it, but the power button does not work. When you plug it in, it just turns on. I'm like, okay. And I'd forgotten that. So of course I plug it in, it's just on. I'm like, cool. And the shocking thing is the Pirates game does work on it, but the Elgato does not play nice with that Xbox.
Do you know if it's older or newer than your other one? Did you look at the date codes on the
I don't know if it's older or new. I mean, it's not a green, because that's a green system. So I would assume that was the original run, because that was the original Halo.
The bundle. Green, that was the original Halo bundle.
So my thought process is I'm going to pull out the disk drive of this one and put it in that, because I don't know if you've ever opened an original Xbox. It's ridiculous how that system looks when you open it up.
Oh yeah,
they just slap shit into a big box.
Yeah, it's like a weird PC put in a case.
It's super weird, but it is like the most generic looking CD drive you'll ever see.
Yeah.
So I'm probably going to switch them out and just see if it works, because I don't care at this point. But yeah, because of that, it just it worked for me. But when I look over my Elgato stuff on my computer, the stream's just not working for the Elgato. So it's something with that. So I wanted to make sure it wasn't my Elgato. So I hooked up my Switch and I threw in Mario Wonder, which I have not played. And that led to me streaming that for an hour. And that's when I had that revelation of because I really enjoyed the hour I played of it. And I was like, all right, fine. If we get to the end of this year and we don't have anything, I need to just start playing some of these Switch games. Because I've bought almost every single major release, minus a few here and there, and just not opened them.
Yeah.
Metroid Dread. I haven't played that. There's a bunch. So we'll see. I feel like this is the month we're going to hear something. So I feel like it's the time.
Do you think they'll do it like they did last time? Didn't they do a small before? Wasn't it they were gonna announcement of an announcement and then they put out a trailer later?
So what they did last time, it was the night before. I only remember this because the night that they put out that tweet, I went to the ER. That's the only reason why I remember this. But they put out a tweet and it was like, hey, tomorrow we're gonna unveil the future of Nintendo. And that was the next day they put out that the rooftop trailer. That's all they put out was, here's the rooftop trailer. Here's all these people hanging out. Here's the Switch. Here's what it does. Here's how cool it is. Yeah, you did you think you want one? No, you really do want one.
Right.
That was that trailer. And then we did not get a date or anything until January.
Right.
Because they made you wait, and then they had a big showcase. They showed all the stuff. They gave out the date and everything. I feel like that's the same thing they're going to do this.
When did I go to that thing? Remember, there was some kind of Nintendo preview thing that I went to.
It was it was between that and it was right after, I want to say.
I don't remember it being cold outside, but maybe it was just a weird.
It was early
winter.
October, so it was probably still warm like it is right now.
Yeah, because
we're in October and it's 7 degrees today.
I think you're right, because they went with a buddy of mine, and it was, I remember because they had 1-2 Switch and Bomberman and I think Mario Kart. Yeah, they had Mario Kart set up on a fake plane. I remember now.
Because I remember Mario Kart didn't launch with the system. It was a month later, right?
Yeah. But it was they had it set up on a fake plane on a tray table.
Yeah, because you could pull, that was the whole point, was to show how you can do the desktop thing. Yeah. Okay. I feel like they're going to do the same thing.
It's got to be.
I think it's this month, and I think it's that quick. Here it is. This is what it is. We're going to talk more about it beginning of next year.
That's what they do. We've talked about it before. It takes 4 months from announcement of something for them to release again.
I'm not ready for the hell that it's going to be to pre-order that thing. So
no, it's going to be awful.
It's going to be hell on earth.
Yeah.
So
$700. Chip reader sold separately.
There you go.
That would be amazing.
Good Lord, that would
have to pay to play your old games by updates for each. Yeah, there you go.
If you want a dock, that's another $50.
Do you want wheels to go on that dock?
You don't think it won't work with existing docks, obviously, right?
I don't think so. And the reason I say that is because remember they made that switch from the first version of the dock to the OLED has the jack in it now for Ethernet.
Well, and if you want 4K out of dock, there's no way that switch could be the same.
There's no way.
Yeah.
And also the dock that has an Ethernet cable gets firmware updates, but the dock that doesn't, I believe, doesn't.
Right.
So.
Oh yeah, I've never updated anything on that dock. If it were ever possible, it's never happened. So
I only ever got a second dock because there was like one weird day I woke up and there was like a Target deal and it was like, hey, we're selling these for like $40, and I was like, I'll buy another dock, and so I have two, but they're not. That was before the OLED.
They'll be useless soon.
They will be. So, how about you, Eric? What have you been playing? What have you been playing?
Video games. You guys may have heard of them. Nothing new. Stuff that's been out for a little while. I dipped back into Stellaris Paradox game. They're up to 26 expansions now.
Oh my
Jesus Christ!
What is it? Let's say you wanted to get in.
So
what would the buy-in be?
Well, that would be ridiculous to get, because if you were to get in now, it would be hundreds of dollars. So what you do, the pro tip is, if you want to try Stellaris, you do a 1-month subscription.
Okay.
It's $10 and it gets you all of the expansions.
Okay.
And so that's usually what I do. Like, I'll dip in around when an expansion is coming out. I'll play for a few weeks. I'll cancel it, not play it for a while, and then I'll jump back in and do it that way. And that's much more cost effective than buying each of these as they come out.
Sure.
Which I was doing for a period of time. But then I just fell out of playing it and fell 3, 4, 5 expansions behind. Now, granted, the expansions are kind of like, they remind me of The Sims.
Okay.
I think it's The Sims, might be The Sims 4, I don't remember. But they would have different classes of DLC, right? So you'd have one that was just items, and then you would have one that was actual content. So Stellaris has a lot of that, where you'll have your really big packs that add a whole ton of new mechanics and crazy stuff that you can do. And then there's some that are just new races or cosmetic things. So you can kind of pick and choose. If you just want to get the big ones, you can totally do that. There's a third set of expansions that are, they literally just add flavor and story as you play the game. So it's literally just text boxes and quests that it adds. But that game anyway, continues to be awesome and overwhelming in its own way. I tend to, because now there's so many options and it's so complex to create your own species. I just have the game randomized for me. And so I get in with completely random species type, random government, random civics, everything is completely randomized, and it just kind of forces me to, build based on what I got, which is sometimes really fun and sometimes is not. So, there's some restarts in there to give it another roll. But yeah, Stellaris is still really good. I'm excited to see what an eventual Stellaris 2 looks like.
Is that something they're even talking about right now?
It's been talked about. I don't think it's on anywhere. I don't think it's going to be next year or even the year after. I don't know. It could be 26. I could see it being 2026. But that being said, I mean, they've got a pretty solid, baseline to just keep pumping out expansions for a while. Yeah, it's just when you get to larger galaxies, some of the the performance issues get a little noticeable. Yeah. And then outside of that, the main thing I've been putting most of my time into is Like a Dragon Ishin. That game is fascinating. So it's a historical, if you're not aware, it's historical. It's set in 1860s Japan. And it's a super interesting. So I had zero. All I knew is that there were characters from the Yakuza games, the time period, and it's almost like a Gaiden game, but a historical Gaiden game. And so that's really all I knew. And it's set in this period where it's very recent that Western civilization has happened upon Japan. And so there's this internal civil war between, the samurai, the samurai, and then the emperor and everybody loyal to the emperor and all that kind of stuff. So it's a super fascinating, piece of history that I do not know much about. I'm pretty sure they're building it up. Like, if I had to guess right now, I'm about halfway through the game. If I had to guess right now, they're building this to be the end of this game and this is how the Tojo clan was started.
Yeah, that would make sense.
I'm pretty sure that's exactly where this is going, which is great. I'm all in for it. The only thing there's two things that I have a hard time with in this game. So one is navigation. It's a very different city layout than in other games. It's partially because it's not a city. Well, it's not a modern city. It's very much like a sea shanty seaside town of the 1860s, and so everything almost looks too similar in a way. So it's kind of hard to differentiate landmarks sometimes. I've gotten around to kind of like piecing together where all the big like shops are that I go to a lot. This game is, I believe, known to be like the most insane in terms of getting a platinum for the game. I believe this one is the most known. Yes, I believe this one is known as the most extreme because there's just a crazy amount of grinding to get all of the material, because you have to upgrade like every sword in the game, every gun, every piece of equipment. Like, it's the amount of shit and materials that you have to grind for, and most of it is through gambling mini games.
Of course.
It's like no thanks. But anyway,
it's a regular combat game, right? It's not.
Yep. Yeah, you've got a few different combat styles. You can fight with just your katana. You can fight with just your gun, or you have a stance that's called Wild Dancer, and you use your katana and gun at the same time. The combat is fun. It's pretty simple. But overall, it's pretty fun. It's super gory, which is kind of fun for a Yakuza game. And you're just like, you have some good finishers because you have like an old school 6-shooter at your gun.
Yeah, it's like he has the 6-shooter and then the sword, right?
So you punch people up against the wall and you put the gun up and you just blast 3 rounds into their chests. And my favorite thing is, this is still Yakuza. You're like literally emptying entire cylinders into people. The fight finishes and they get up. Oh, sorry, Mr. Samurai, and they run away.
That's good.
It's like nobody dies except in cutscenes, unless they die. They're not dead unless they die in a cutscene.
Right.
My other favorite thing that's I love it, but it's also confusing, is it has like the main cast is filled out by all characters from previous Yakuza games. But it's like, it's fucking with my head because it came out after Like a Dragon, Yakuza 7.
Yeah.
So it has characters from Like a Dragon in there.
Oh wow.
So it's like I'm going through, there's like this big build-up. You join like this group of samurai that are like kind of unofficial peacekeepers. They're almost like an, I don't know, illegal crime organization.
Awesome.
But who can say what that could be? But anyway, there's like this whole big build-up to meeting the leader of this organization, so you can ask him some questions. And you finally meet him. It's this whole thing, and it's fucking Adachi from Like a Dragon 7.
That's
cool. He's just being a moron, just messing with people. It's fun. I enjoy that. It's confusing slightly because everybody's names are different. They do not use like their names from the previous games. It was hard for me initially for Kiryu. So obviously Kazuma Kiryu, main character from most of the Yakuza games. His character in this game is Sakamoto Ryoma. But when he's in different towns, he goes as Saito Hajime. So he's got all these names, and then I've got all of these characters. Goro Majima is Okita Soji. And so when I see them speaking, I'm like, okay, of course I know these characters, but if other people are talking about them and they're not on screens, like I don't remember who these people are.
Yeah. That would get me lost too.
There's a feature that I really feel like they should have put a little bit more time into, where in the middle of conversations, you see a little button come up that just says glossary. And it brings up like a quick, for whatever was in the text box, if there's any terms in there that may not be familiar to Westerners. It has like a short description of like, hey, this is what the Bakufu is. This is what loyalists are in 1860s Japan.
That's pretty neat.
But what they really should have is like something like that has like, hey, if this particular character's name is mentioned, just tell me, just remind me who this is. Like there's a very in-depth pictogram in the menu of the game where you can go through with Kiryu in the middle and lines going out red, green, or blue depending on the relationship to that person, and it just spiders out everywhere. But anyway, I keep going on. It's I'm actually having a lot more fun with it than I thought I was going to. Yeah, I really like I've hit the part in some of the longer mini games where I can tell it's like, okay, I'm going to have to grind for materials if I want to actually complete these. So I think I'm getting near the point of myself being done with it. It's mainly going to be wrapping up the story.
Sometimes you hit a point in those Yakuza games where you're just like, I'm overloaded and I just can't right now.
And like, I enjoy them so much, and I don't want to beat it into the ground to the point where when I finally do put it down, I hate it. You know, like I just want to end it when I still enjoy it. I think right now I'm at like 50 hours in the game. And I'm roughly, I don't know, just over halfway through the story.
So what's left for you after this? Just Infinite Wealth and then the pirate one coming out?
I got to play Man with No Name.
Did that come out after Ishin?
It did.
Yeah.
Okay. It did. Okay. Yeah, because it was 3 in the 1 year. It was like a Dragon.
It's before the newest. It's before Infinite Wealth.
Before Infinite Wealth.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I got to play it because it's a side story to 7.
Right.
And it'll tie into 8. You wouldn't know anything about that, Kyle.
They recap it.
I'm sure
Infinite
they do.
Wealth.
Yeah.
So
enough
that I was like, okay.
They recognize that most people are not psychopaths like me and have to play every single one in order to play it. But that's like a Dragon Ishin. It's awesome. If you see it on sale, grab it. If you see the deluxe edition on sale, grab it. It comes with some bullshit crafting materials that make your life a little bit easier. So outside of that, quickies, with all the new hype about Death Stranding 2 popping up. I saw the director's cut of the first one for PS5 went on sale. I think it was like $14, $15.
Yeah.
So I grabbed that. That's been really good to play through. It's been fun to play through. I feel like I've been finding a lot more than I did originally in that game, and I don't know if there's a lot of new stuff. So I don't.
Definitely runs a lot better than the original version.
It runs great. Oh yeah. It has on the PS5. It has a enhanced performance mode.
Yes.
So it just runs perfectly, literally all the time. So yeah, it's great. I really don't know at this point what is okay. So I can tell you this: what is new? They added a bunch of cosmetic stuff.
Okay.
I don't know why. There's a ton of Half-Life 2 references in the director's cut.
So the reason they did that, and it's weird that they threw in the PlayStation version of the game, but that was to celebrate the Steam release of that game.
Oh, okay.
And when they did
Maybe that's why it's in
people
the
were like,
cut.
why is this in the PlayStation version? They just put it on both. So that's why you see a bunch of weird Half-Life stuff in there. Yeah.
You can wear Gordon Freeman's glasses. You can have the valve from the Valve icon on the back of Sam's head.
That's good.
Yeah. There's some fun extra stuff in there. You can customize your backpack a little bit more and do some more stuff with that.
I forgot to put it in the news because they honestly didn't do much with it. They had that showcase last Sunday at TGS for that game, which they showed like a new photo mode. That was kind of it. But the thing that came out of it was that they're only between 40 and 50% done with that game. So it's probably more like end of next year that it'll be ready.
I bet you it will be. Yeah, for sure.
But he can take his time.
I'm looking forward to it. Yeah, like honestly, somebody like that, like let him take his time so that it's On a somewhat related note, I'm very excited for Metal Gear Solid 3 Delta.
I am too.
Yeah, that looks.
They need to just
awesome.
date it. I don't understand why they haven't dated that game yet.
Yeah, I don't know.
They put out a new trailer at TGS for that as well, with no date.
Yeah, it's got to be holiday, right?
It has pre-order bonuses now.
It's got to be holiday.
So
I feel like it's got to be.
It could be one of those things where it is for now, but then it's all of a sudden it's
March,
February,
when everything else comes out.
Yeah, I mean, hey, January is not a bad month. Like nothing else is coming out right off the bat. Like usually.
No. I would like to play that though.
Yeah, I would too. I'm interested to see the changes. They released all the new renders for the characters. Volgin looks fucking awesome.
Fucking awesome.
Looks so good. So yeah, that'll be good. And then lastly, I don't even know what I just wanted to play a non Yakuza action game. So I picked up God of War, the 2016. Wait, right? 2016?
2018.
2018, yeah. Initially had some misguided notions about getting a platinum.
I didn't do it either, and it's because it's kind of a bitch to do that last part of the game.
Yeah, and I just it got just grindy enough where, like, for the most part, that's my wall with games. Is if the expectation is grinding, doing the same thing over and over and over and over again, I have a hard time unless it's fun. If it's fun, like I don't mind doing it. But so that was, I just got to the point where I wasn't having fun fighting the Valkyries. And I was like, you know what? This game is really good. I'm going to beat it again, and I'm going to move on. I think literally the night that I beat the first one again, I moved into Ragnarok.
Okay.
And shockingly, those games play like identically, so that's fine. That game also has the most crazy, I think, lighting I think I've ever seen in a video game.
Looks really good.
It is crazy, the lighting. Like, I'm just blown away just how
far
crazy
are you in Ragnarok?
Oh, not far. Maybe I think I just got to the point where things start to open up a little bit.
Ragnarok for me did not hit as hard because it hits a low point where you play as his son for a while, and that while becomes too long. And not as interesting as the rest of the story that's gone. It's by no means a bad game, but I think the first one of these was better.
Yeah,
but it still plays exactly like the other one. So
yeah, and that's the main thing. I mean, they play so well, and they're so fun to play. I'll get back to that. I just for some reason Ishin has sucked me in, so I think I'm probably just gonna wrap that up before I
fight with Thor in the beginning is pretty cool.
It is really cool.
It's really
it's awesome. I really like, not to belabor the topic, but I really like how they portray Odin and Thor in that game.
I do too. It's different enough. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's like Thor is like a giant in a way. He looks like a giant. Like it's I don't know. It's super unique character design, especially considering Marvel has popularized it so much. They're really, and I really like the voice actors too. I think it's just really
excellent. They went above and beyond to get the right people for those voices in that game. It all works.
And I'm sure he's going to be terrible later on in the game, but
that's the other thing I will say. Awesome. The final boss fight, which I won't spoil what it is, but not very challenging considering the rest of the game. So be prepared for that too.
No, I mean,
it's almost like I equate it to like the first Dark Souls, where like you build yourself up and then the final boss is a joke. It's kind of that level where I'm like, this game's over now.
I think that's what I've done to myself in Ishin because I've gotten to the point where I'm very far in the repeatable mini games, like the combat mini games.
Yeah.
But it's taking a while to do anything. But when I go back to sub stories and the main quest, I'm just slicing through guys like immediately. So I'm now over leveled for the story, so I'm just going to do that for a while and see where that goes.
But that wraps you up.
Think so. Yep.
Well, we can kick over to news. There's stuff not as crazy of the last 2 weeks as the previous.
Hard to top the last couple months of shit.
I mean, we're not bitching about the PlayStation 5 Pro as much. So
how's Concord doing?
Not very good.
Heading for a comeback, I heard.
I don't think there was a news article about Concord this week either. Now that I think about it,
what?
which is
it did better than Suicide Squad Season 3.
That didn't do very well.
Yeah,
I didn't put that in the news either, but it's
just I mean.
If there's only 300 people playing it, do you think any of those people listen to our podcast? My guess is no.
I bet you that is your literal entire subscriber base.
Yeah,
probably.
Suicide
Squad.
All of them
are playing Suicide Squad.
Yeah. Hey, I'm waiting for all the content to be out, and my buddy and I are going to run through it, and it's going to be fucking terrible, but we're going to do it.
Did you bought it?
I own
20?
it. Digital Deluxe finally hit $20. Because they just, gave up on that fucking game.
On that note, before I get into the news, when do you go back to Gotham Knights?
Tomorrow.
Okay, so Gotham Knights will
Gotham Knights will be platinum.
That's the next you're going to get through it. Probably
the new
right?
island.
Okay,
that's the mid-level island.
Okay. Okay.
But Suicide Squad. All I'm waiting for is for them to be like, we're shutting the service down in 30 days, and then there's a clock on it for us to platinum it. Because
I can see that happening, though. That's the sad part.
For sure. I don't know if you put this in the news, but I'm going to bring it up now, too. Did you see all the rumors going around that Rocksteady might just go back to Batman now? Because
I didn't put it in the news because there wasn't anything concrete, and there won't be anything concrete for a while. But so let me ask you this: do you think that they start it with here's a new Batman game, or do they start it with here's a remake of Arkham Asylum while we work on the next thing?
I don't think you can give me a remake of that because I can buy that
not great
bundle
version.
thing for $6. It's nothing. No, I think the only way that it works, it's a new Batman, it's a new story, everything's restarted.
Mm-hmm.
And
it has to be.
And there's no fucking Joker. How about that?
They won't do that part of it.
It'll be all Joker.
They will tell you. No, they will tell you Joker's not in it.
Right. But Clayface
he will be
Joker. Right.
Oh, there you go.
But it's also,
you gotta think of a cool Batman villain that they haven't done, but is also just becomes the Joker. How'd they put? No, they did. They did have Hush referenced, but I was gonna say let's do Hush, and then he undoes the bandages. It's just the Joker.
Just the Joker.
It's Arthur.
Or they could do they could do him as original Red Hood.
There you go.
You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
Do that.
The original,
Don't see it's Red Hood. I swear. Oh, it's the Joker. Gotcha again.
It's the Joker. You mean the thing we all thought about Arkham Knight?
Yeah.
It was the Arkham Knight is just Red Hood. I called it before a game came out.
Yeah.
And it was he broke off the little ears. I'm just Red Hood.
Cool. The thing about it though, if they do just go back to Batman, that's sad, right?
It is sad in a way. But I will say, so the only Arkham game, for whatever reason, I never bought on PC was Arkham Knight. Because remember when it came out, it was a disaster. They pulled it from sale for a while. But it finally, the other day, it was on it was $4 or something ridiculously cheap with the season pass. Which remember, that season pass when it came was $50.
For nothing.
And I paid for that.
Yeah.
I was the tool that paid for that. But anyways, I was obligated. But I loaded it up the other day because I bought it. And going on 10 years later, if you play that on a decent PC, it looks better than Suicide Squad in a lot of times. It is kind of ridiculous how well that game's
constantly filling the screen all the time.
True. There's not, numbers
everywhere.
One screenshot I remember you sent me. What is going on here? I remember that.
What is this?
Yeah. So, but yeah, I'm sure you'll get to some. But my guess is, like you said, it's a new Batman. It's a new story. They start over.
Well, obviously they would have to get a new voice actor. I think
they just get what's his name.
But isn't the smartest possible play to just be make a Batman Beyond game?
That's when I mentioned it. When I mentioned it to my girlfriend the other day, that was the first thing she said is they probably will just do Batman Beyond.
They should.
So
because then it can be in the same universe.
Yeah, and just later on.
And they have a lot more flexibility with a voice actor.
Right. Hey, your buddy
you get someone to be Terry McGinnis.
He still do it. He still is a voice actor. Get him to do it. I could see them
doing it.
Yeah, why not? He sounds the same.
I could see it.
Yeah, it's just that way it could still be in the same universe. But you can do whatever you want because it's 30 years in the future, whatever the hell you want to do.
I think it. I think.
I would just be disappointed for them to go back to here's a new Batman, but it's basically just like the old Batmans, but it's a new Batman. Like,
here's Arkham 4.
Yeah,
so
if we're
the
not gonna
events
get,
of the end of the last one didn't actually happen.
If we're not going to get Superman, then you need to do something else.
Yeah. I don't know. That's the other thing I keep thinking too. It's like, all right, we're on the verge of that Superman movie. Maybe.
Yeah, but their problem is the timing would never line up, and they'd release a Superman game 6 years from now.
It'd be more ready, for whatever the Superman sequel is at this point. So, but we can kick into more of the news here. So, the first thing that I put in here, this was like 2 weeks ago, I think I may drop this, is that Microsoft is planning to do something big for the something big and special for the 25th anniversary of Halo. That makes sense. That would be 25th anniversary would be 2026. Because remember 2001. So I feel like, as we've discussed before, that's probably the launch of the next Xbox at that point if they go early.
Could be.
So I figure that like maybe they launch with the next Halo. Or and by that I mean the next Halo is that rumored Halo remaster. Because they keep talking about they're doing it.
Yeah, but like, is that,
which also comes to PlayStation?
But I get it. But like, is that a big release for 25 years of Halo?
For
like, no,
Microsoft, it is.
For Microsoft,
for people today,
putting out a game is a big news for Microsoft.
Putting out a game on time, would be big news
when it's relevant.
On the back of that, the more and more rumors are stacking, and we've talked about this before, but that the next like wave of what they do will seemingly launch with like whatever the next version of the Series X is, and then instead of an S, it'll be a handheld. Yeah. And I think that's the smart play for them.
Should be what it is. We've talked about it a lot.
I think having the handheld would get a lot of people that don't have an X or even fucked off of this generation to be like, I'll get that handheld.
Sure. As long as it can download and play Game Pass stuff natively. Yeah. Absolutely.
Exactly. So, how much do you know about the Dragon Quest thing?
I read the article.
Okay.
Yeah.
I watched the video.
Okay. I didn't watch the video.
That portion of the video.
But I saw the quotes.
Yeah. So, the big thing, obviously, Dragon Quest, what is it? Dragon Quest 3 HD? Is that what they call it? That's the official title.
I think that's the one that just came out.
Okay. Yeah. That's coming out next month. So Japan and the creators are not happy about the censorship changes for the game, which we've known about for a while. Like they changed, I think one of them was they changed that one character to have like an undershirt or something under her armor.
They do that a lot though. Like they always, like Sony especially, and Nintendo has done it too, where like they'll change clothes on characters, like put pants on them, or like have the shirt come down an inch more, or get rid of cleavage, stuff like that.
Yeah, stuff like that. So it falls in line. That's the kind of stuff that they're doing with it, which like is it something that I really care about? Not really. Like I'm still gonna play the game. It looks incredible.
Right.
So we're what, like a month out from that?
It's pretty
we're
close.
Really close to it. Yeah. So, but it was funny to see them like candidly speak about how they don't care for that, because I feel like if that was an American company saying that, it'd be a lot different than a Japanese company saying we don't care for that. But I thought it was interesting. I think I texted this to you, Dan, the other day, that the people that made the day before are trying to make a comeback.
This is insane because we just talked about them like last episode.
Yeah,
I think
they are trying to make a comeback with a new Kickstarter that has I believe it has a stretch goal for whatever the game that they're making to hit PS5, like a PS5 version of it. But can you imagine giving them money for something new? Like,
I don't know. Kickstarters and stuff, like Erik was a big Kickstarter guy for a while, and I think he finally caught on to like the disillusionment to what Kickstarter actually is and it means. But like,
it's a pre-order service.
It is and it isn't, because like you're not even necessarily guaranteed what it is, or guaranteed the form what it is, or any kind of reasonable time frame of what it is. It's just, it can be wild. And you talk about like who's even going to kickstart this. How much money has Star Citizen made from backers?
Oh God!
And that's not even. Is that game out technically?
Nope.
No, it's still not out, right? It'll never be out because it'll
never be out. But
this was a different case though, because like
this is a different case because they already burned everybody once.
Didn't even make a game that you could play.
No, That was just a literal scam.
And they literally said it was a scam the week it came out.
So it is shocking that they're coming back. What's more? What do you think happened? What do you think's more likely to happen? That they release a game that is decent, or that we ever hear more about Abandoned?
Oh shit!
I feel like there's been nothing, and nobody has talked about Abandoned in over a year.
I made that joke to you like a week ago. It's like, when does the game Abandoned by Blue Box Studios come out?
When do I get my state of play surrounding that game?
When do I get the extension of the downloadable thing that they released that didn't actually work, and then they pulled it?
I remember because I downloaded that. Yeah, just didn't.
Talk about scams. That's a fucking scam.
That has to be a fucking.
At least these 100%. Idiots tried to make a game with stolen materials.
Okay,
but I would argue it's more. If you had to gun to my head, it's more likely they release a decent game than anything ever said about Abandoned ever again.
I think that's just Abandoned.
I still maintain the headcanon that Abandoned was some secret other project from someone else, and it just never came together. Kind of like PT and Silent Hills.
Kind of a Kojima thing, but they never got to the point of announcing Kojima's involvement.
Because the PT thing, I think if that's what it was, they realized from the PT thing, we shouldn't do that immediately. and spoil what it's going to be.
Yeah.
We should have held on to it, but then who knows what? I mean, obviously, Silent Hills and Konami and Kojima, that whole thing had fucking exploded. This could have been a very similar thing where they realized we just couldn't do it, and they just wiped it.
Sure.
But every clue pointed it to being him. Remember, everything pointed it to being him, and it's in exactly the way that he hides this stuff.
Yeah,
because it was all the name of the company and the guy's name meant something else in a different language, and it's just everything seemed like a Kojima puzzle. But my guess is if it just fell apart at some point and they just, abandoned it and just let it go.
He's got so much stuff going. Put aside Death Stranding, he's got that OD'd game for Xbox, and then he has that, it's a weird name, like Ficent or something.
Yeah.
Was the new stealth thing, which will be out maybe in 2040 or something like that.
He's always got something cooking. So, it wouldn't be surprising if Abandoned was meant to be something for some other established franchise, but it was his take on it. That wouldn't have been shocking.
Yeah.
But I just laughed because I went looking for information on it after I texted you. It's all but forgotten.
It is. Yeah. I've heard nobody
looked into
it over a year.
Any further after it died.
There's no reason.
No, nice, because it's not real. But
we passed the 25th anniversary of Tony Hawk's Pro Skater. And Birdman himself, Tony Hawk, has confirmed that the series will continue. So we will be getting something. I don't know.
What would you want it to be?
Honestly, at this point, just make a new Tony Hawk game and just call it Tony Hawk's Pro Skater.
Right? It's probably all that's left.
Yeah. Can it be a live service game?
See, Skate's already doing that.
They tried multiplayer shit with 5.
They tried that with 5 and it was terrible. But
such a bad
I'd
game.
also argue they were 5-6 years too early for that.
Yeah, but I think they learned from that.
I do too.
That it's okay to just make a single player Tony Hawk experience and let it be what it is.
And I think you could do something like this and just call it Tony Hawk's and have a ton of maps and stuff. You could do old ones, new ones, whatever. And I think people would be fine with it.
Just make Thug 3.
I think Thug is another way they could go, because those were
I'd be even more down.
Those were very popular in
so.
their own way. I didn't care for them because I liked the structure of the original Tony Hawk games.
I liked the first one the most. The second one was when they went too far into the Jackass realm, and as a fan of Jackass, it was too much.
Right. So if you make a new Underground, I think you could, but I think you'd have to dial back that kind of stuff
a little bit.
But I think you could see it instead of, like you said with that, I think you could see Tony Hawk's Underground is the next game.
I think they've done enough where they've learned, all right, we're not going to do any goofy experiments. We're not going to do another board thing.
Tony Hawk's Grind, and it's another board. Then you could have Ride, Shred, and Grind.
There you go.
Downhill Skate Jam.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
There you go.
And it's for Switch and it uses Joy-Cons.
Super
HD Rumble.
I don't know. But I mean, I'm glad that it's going to continue in whatever fashion. I'm glad it's going to continue because there's been like the last like year or so, ever since the ABK deal, it's been kind of like, are they going to even do anything, or are they just going to write that off? Which I think at least even Microsoft sees value.
I was sad
at the end of the day, that's who would be.
I was sad they never did the 3 and 4 remake.
I am
content
too,
just because
that would have been cool.
Those games are both fantastic too.
Yes.
I would have loved to play like
4 was the first one that like get off the board, right?
It was the first one that didn't really have a time. Remember, there was no time limit sometimes. Yeah. And that was like the first major change where you could walk around and go find stuff to do. So like if you were to remake 4,
expanded that in Thug.
Yeah, and then Thug became the game of Thug.
Yeah.
But like 4, if they remade 4 now and put old maps in it with the same kind of thing where it's like you can walk around and find stuff to do, that would be a lot of fun.
Have you gotten the PlayStation update with the widgets?
Yeah, I did. I like it. I like all that.
I do too. I like it a lot too, to be fair. So there was a thing when it happened. Do you know about the ad thing?
Yeah, I didn't. It didn't happen to me.
You didn't have the
ads
all
over the subreddit.
They came out and said that it was a error.
Right.
That they're gonna they basically told people to calm down. It's an error. I don't know, but what were they referring to as ads? Because like I see ads on the PlayStation all the time when I turn on.
It was not ads.
It was the background.
It was like the background, depending on what you were like sitting on your game selection at the top. It would show you like a relevant like ad or like link to something about it, like a link to check out these YouTube videos about it, stuff to make you engage with it more beyond just like booting the game.
Okay, that makes sense.
Was it a bug? Sure. Was it a bug for a feature that's coming anyway? Yes.
Seems more likely. Yeah, I was going to say, it seems like they just caught with it early, and that was their response. It was like,
they went live ahead of time before they could explain it. I do find it a bit of a strange, I don't want to say coincidence because it wasn't exactly tied up, but between them doing this and then finding the bug and then repairing it and then PlayStation being down for 8 hours. All kind of happened at the same time.
Weird.
Yeah.
That happened the night that I turned on my PS4 Pro for the first time in like a year and a half because I'm going to use that to stream Ghost Hunter. And I was like, well, I'll update it because I'm sure it needs to be updated or whatever. And that was the day that PlayStation Network was down.
Do you know what happened to me during that? And why the digital future sucks?
No,
I could not play any game that was digitally installed on my system, even if it was a single player offline game.
Ugh, that sucks.
I have because I've been playing through that Lego Star Wars game, and every couple nights I just boot it up to
even if you were to put in a disc that you have installed, it would not.
It would not let me play. Well, I didn't. To be fair, I didn't try anything with a disc.
Okay,
but I have plenty of stuff that's digital installed. Yeah. And Lego Star Wars, famously, single player or not single player, but offline.
It's an offline game.
Yeah. I booted it. It just loaded forever. Cool. It's fucking Lego Star Wars, dude. It should not need to check a damn thing.
No, it shouldn't. So that is wild.
Remember, this is what you hated Xbox for doing.
It is.
This is exactly what you hated Xbox for doing, and now it's the normal. Well, and like did you put this in the news with that California law?
I did not put it in the
news.
Where
they now have to specify that when you buy something digitally, you don't own it.
I briefly read into it, but I didn't. I didn't put it.
It's what we all already know. Where like if you buy something digitally, you're buying a license to be able to use it, and it's not actually yours. And your license can be revoked or turned off or whatever.
On Steam games and other stuff.
It happens on everything.
Concord
did it too. Example. I mean, Concord they gave you a refund, but they weren't obligated to.
But the people that were like, no, I don't want to refund it, they still took the game back.
Yes, it is gone.
So it is gone.
PT was a free game that you downloaded a license for that they revoked.
They revoked it.
And so now in California, they have to specifically state, you do not own this. You are buying the ability to use it.
That is wild. This was not the best. I mean, we all knew that they're working on Bloodstained Ritual in the Night 2, but this wasn't the best way to have the game announced. But the director is stepping back from the sequel since he was diagnosed with cancer. Which sucks. But, and again, not the best way I wanted to hear about, we're confirming that game actually exists. We all know that it exists. Like that Bloodstained was massively successful.
It's a great game.
Great game. So,
did you ever play that, Erik?
I never played it.
God,
no, I should.
It's so good.
Yeah, I should.
Yeah.
And that was one of those things where
it's on sale all the time, too.
It is on sale.
I'm going to look. Yeah,
but it's kind of a game.
Portal game.
Yeah. Oh, God, yeah. And that was when I kicked that. You want to talk about Kickstarter? I kickstarted that one just because I had faith in him to make that a game like that. And even before it came out, it was hit or miss. You didn't know what you were going to get. And it turns out you just got a really good version of Symphony of the Night, essentially.
And I think you also got like a different case or something.
I have like a slipcover and stuff for it.
Which is cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because I remember when it happened and I didn't do it.
I was surprised you didn't. Like, if there's one thing you're going to kickstart,
I should have.
It's basically,
even though I own it on every platform you can buy it on.
Yeah, and but yeah, man, I was actually thinking about it the other day. I want to go back and finish it because all I have left to do is like the collecting.
And if you end up liking that, Eric, there's also the 2 8-bit ones they did. Circle of the Moon 1 and 2.
What those were.
Also really good.
Those are good too.
They just play more like classic.
They're like old Castlevania.
They're really good. Okay. So I played all of those.
Yeah, Bloodstained is
amazing,
phenomenal game.
Amazing game. So I look forward to a sequel to that. I forgot that we called it, and we don't have one of those this week. The GameStop dumbass move of the week. I would have put this in dumbass move of the week.
Which one?
This next article, which is that Microsoft is investigating why developers prioritize PS5 over Xbox. We all know the answer to that. Games sell on the PS5.
Yeah.
They don't sell on the Xbox.
Also, I don't know if Microsoft knows this. They don't release fucking games.
They don't.
That might be a factor. Sony doesn't have the best track record either, but they just put out Astrobot.
I was going to say, Sony does not have a great track record this generation, but they have at least put out
God
the games
War,
that they have
Last
announced.
Even stuff like Ratchet and Clank, Ghost of Tsushima, we just announced a new one. Like,
the difference is they probably have a lot of games in the pipeline that they just haven't announced yet.
Well, and the difference is when they announced this Ghost of Tsushima sequel, I believe it exists and I believe it will be released.
I do
when
too.
Microsoft announces a game, okay, sure.
I didn't put it in here because I saw that they're already talking about that game slipping to 2026, which feels realistic for that game.
I mean, whatever.
So I think putting a 2025 date on that Ghost of Yutai is a little too soon. But
it's just
it looked good. So I like as someone who when that game came out, because it came out on PS4 and I had no interest because I'm not a huge samurai person, and then that was the game that I played after I had my hernia surgery and had nothing to do because I was laid up, and I was like, all right, I need like a good 80-hour game to just mess around with. And I ended up loving Ghost of Tsushima. That was my game of the year that year. So I look forward to the sequel. It looks really good.
Yeah.
So,
but again, you see that announcement from them and you go, okay, that'll come out.
That it's going to happen.
Right. Yeah. And you know, based on the studio, it's quality studio. Microsoft's problem is we keep buying all these studios that should be quality studios, but none of them are releasing anything.
No.
Because they shut down half of them.
They shut down half of them. The other problem I have is I feel like the leadership they have for that department is not hands-on enough because there are too many studios.
Right. And it's not enough.
Into these situations like Fable is now the new Duke Nukem Forever at this point.
Well, we didn't even talk about it last time.
No,
because now it got pushed again. They just and then like every 3 years I get a Perfect Dark. Check this shit out. When is
that trailer was awesome? But I feel like we're still 3 years away from
when
it.
is it out?
So
it just delayed.
But to look at it from a third party perspective, if you're going to put games out, I understand why some games just completely skip the Xbox because especially when it's a digital release.
Look at Baldur's Gate.
So.
Oh, it's because you have these Xbox Series S bullshit requirements.
That's the other problem. They shot themselves in the foot this generation by having that weaker hardware and then mandating that both systems have to work. I feel like we will get to a point. I'm surprised we haven't gotten to it yet where they're going to say, "Okay, guys,
they should
get to that point where
they should sunset the S and just be like, going forward from May of 2025, companies will no longer be required to make games that are compatible with the Series S. It's been long enough for a system
up to them if they want to put it out.
Here's the argument. It's been long enough for a system that nobody fucking owns anyway. It's like, who owns a Series S?
My understanding and again, they don't put out the numbers very well, but a lot of people at the beginning of this console generation bought a 1S.
But why?
because it was cheap.
They didn't know the difference.
Because it was cheaper and they had no fucking clue what the difference was.
And they
it's
also
both of
could
your
find
answers.
it.
Yes, and it was available because no one who knew wanted it.
Knew what it was.
Right. That's why the next console they make should be called the Xbox. And
it should be simply the Xbox and the Xbox handheld. There you go.
Yeah.
There's your names.
The
I don't need it. I don't want to hear a series, Y or whatever.
X-Boy.
Please call it the
Please call it the X-Boy.
I think I would be okay with it.
I would love an X-Boy.
Play Magazine. I know you've heard of it. I believe they're out of the UK, right?
All right. So this is a different Play Magazine than the one I used to talk about. Yes.
Okay.
Because the one I've talked about
was
before
American based.
Was American.
And media.
It was like anime, TV, games, all kinds of stuff.
It was a cool magazine.
It was I still have a bunch of copies of it.
This was a UK based, like just PlayStation, but they are shutting down next month. Which again, it just goes in line with all of these magazines.
Game Informer and all that stuff. It's all done.
It's print media, so
right. Because the news cycle is up to the minute online that a magazine cannot compete anymore.
No. Baldur's Gate 3, that big update has finally hit console, but it adds mod support, which I don't know if you saw.
I haven't looked at any of that stuff. Okay. I need to go back and actually finish the fucking game before I even bother to touch that stuff.
I would imagine it's a hefty update on console because it was a hefty update on PC when it came out.
Oh, it's probably another 100 gigs.
But we'll see.
The PlayStation, cool. I hate the thing about the PlayStation is where the update is more than you have space for. So realistically, it makes sense. But when it's done, it won't be more than enough space. But it has to reserve that to do it. So it actually almost makes sense to delete your install and then install and update it at the same time, which is insane.
It does, yeah. But it's cool that they brought mod support to console. I don't think that was planned either, like when they announced this update. I think that was a surprise for console.
Well, I knew it was coming for stuff PC. On console so weird as it is.
It is weird. The only game I have ever dabbled with a little bit of modding on console was Skyrim. It worked okay.
I've done some Fallout stuff, but it's not great.
It's not great, but it did work for me, so... David Hayter might return to Metal Gear Solid, but I don't. Other than this remake coming out, I don't know what capacity it would be, and I don't think fans of Metal Gear would accept a non-Kojima Metal Gear.
They would have to be remaking the first game, right?
That's what
they put out that right? They put out that thing there where they said like comparatively to even remaking 3, remaking the first one would be a pain in the ass.
Well, they'd have to redesign the majority of that game. Yeah, right. I mean, I don't know what else, unless it's something where he's like a bonus voice or like a bonus character that you find or something. I don't
or they remake Acid and Acid 2 for PS5, and you're on the plane.
Do you think they would ever?
Oh, you know, now that I think
they would ever take the plots of those NES games and make those into a full budget?
That would be cool.
It would be really cool,
and I think people would be okay with that.
There's that, right? or find a way to make like you did Crisis Core. Find a way to do Peace Walker.
Well, because like literally, like the guy that you play as in Phantom Pain is the final boss in the first Metal Gear game.
It is, yeah.
You know, so it's like they're directly.
It's all connected. You know? But like those are kind of like a missing piece that.
Yeah.
Hasn't been made the other proper.
Yeah.
In a proper.
And the only quote unquote proper release that they have had was on like Metal Gear Solid 4. You had both 1 and 2 were fully playable within Metal Gear Solid 4.
Yeah.
Ground Zeroes remaster. How about that?
That's fine. Ground Zeroes is such a weird
VR
thing
mission.
that
it's
remake.
Very weird.
Yeah.
VR. There you go. Yeah. VR missions. Yeah, I don't know. I don't see a way in which you could make a new non-Kojima involved Metal Gear and people would accept it. The only time they ever tried that was Survive, and that game. I mean, nobody cared for that. I own it.
They did it with. Was he involved with Twin Snakes?
Yes and no. Like, I believe I believe he helped design like the redone cutscenes for that game, if I remember correctly.
Make sense. Yeah.
But that was kind of the capacity of it, because I think that's why I still think that's the better way to play the original Metal Gear Solid today.
Yeah.
But there are a lot of fans that, for whatever reason, like disassociate that version of the game with the franchise.
It's fine that they're wrong.
And maybe I agree.
Cool.
It's fine that they're wrong. But like, I think part of that is because it's locked to one system, which is the GameCube. So
I get it.
Because even the anniversary thing that I just bought because it hit 20, it's the PS1 version of the game. It's not the GameCube.
We just need to find Dennis Dyack, and he can bring it back for us to all the
only
consoles.
thing I think is like maybe they brought him back to redo some lines for the rumored Metal Gear Solid 4.
Oh.
In this second part of this collection that they're gonna do, because that's what everybody wants. Like that's what I would love to play that on not on a PS3.
On PS3, I was as I do scrolling through Instagram, and there was a reel that came up that was just going through some cutscenes from Metal Gear Solid 4, and that was I could be wrong, but it's among the first times that I've watched any of those cutscenes since I played that game.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh my, this looks ancient.
There are parts of it that have not aged well and other parts that have. Yeah. I have not played the game since it came out, but I have in recent time watched some of the like a couple years ago, I sat down and watched like all the cutscenes that were put into like a movie on YouTube.
Yeah.
So
Metal Gear Solid 4 is so fucking awesome.
And then I tried to explain to my girlfriend the plot of Metal Gear Solid, and she gave up. So
how long did it take you to do that?
He's still doing it.
Yeah, some say I'm still doing it now.
Yeah.
I'd say maybe 5 minutes into it, she was like, "This is too much."
Okay.
So,
she
was also watching one of the cutscenes. You know what cutscene it was that she walked in on was the cutscene where not Revolver. At this point, he was Liquid Ocelot, and they're taking over all the machines.
Of course.
You know.
Yeah.
The guns of the Patriot. And she was like, what is this dude doing? And I had to like, who is this? And I had to explain.
That game is awesome. You got your buddy Drebin with the fucking monkey.
The game is still really good. I would love to play it, a modern version of it, not on PS3. So hopefully it happens. I could see that too. Maybe my assumption is he has some sort of involvement in the second volume of that collection would make the most sense. I don't think they're making a new Metal Gear. And if they are, it's a remake of 1, even though they said it would be a pain in the ass. Do you really think they're going to turn down the money it would make? No. It would make a shit ton of money. Well, I think that they're going to use this 3 remake as the test, but it's going to sell.
I'm curious because like I wonder how is I'm trying to remember there were microtransactions in Phantom Pain, right?
There were microtransactions in Phantom Pain revolving around the base building thing that you could buy like to speed up time in the space.
Curious if that was successful or not. I don't know. Yeah. Well,
I did not get into the end game of building that base for hours on end.
No, I did not.
Other people we know did. So
yes.
A little too far into it. So we know that Ubisoft obviously has probably had their most difficult year as a company that they've ever had. But now it looks like there are talks of Tencent getting involved and taking the company private amidst obviously these big high profile flops. And I don't know if you've looked at their stock shares, but they're so
it's pretty bad.
It got down at one point to like close to under $1.
Yeah, it was, yeah.
So
I think you texted me like, did we just go hard into Ubisoft?
I was like, do you and I just buy all the shares and we own Ubisoft and then we just dump everything and have them start over? Like with number 1, bring back Splinter Cell.
Unless I'm getting Splinter Cell in Division 3, we're shutting it down.
Number 1, new Splinter Cell. Number 2, we're bringing back the Division.
Yeah.
Like
I cannot believe they've not talked about a new Division game. Like
it's weird.
Those games are both really good games.
Well, and you see all the stuff that I didn't put it in here, but like I think we talked about it last week too. But like all the patches and work they're putting into Star Wars Outlaws, like even though that game obviously did not sell
very hard,
but that was the thing that I had brought up is like the one company that sticks with their games, even if they come out shit, is Ubisoft.
Yeah, they do.
Look at some of their at launch failures that turn into successes, like Rainbow Six.
Yeah.
Siege was a disaster.
Well, remember, Rainbow Six was in hell for even before that. Remember Patriots?
It was Patriots, yeah.
I remember, that was all crazy.
That Patriots was a game that was supposed to exist for a long time, and then that went to hell. And then it turned out that like the Division was a game that was built on like parts of that game and parts of another game and parts of another game. And but again,
think
they just
about
let that franchise is dead.
Skull and Bones was already bad enough for them. Star Wars Outlaws did not perform for them at all. This Assassin's Creed game has been a disaster since May with every single new thing that's come out.
There was something else that they did too that it was just like I forget what it was, but it's
bad for them.
Oh, Prince of Persia.
This does not surprise me. Prince of Persia just didn't sell.
You mean Sands of Time?
I bought it because it didn't. No, the new one that just came out. The Lost. Yeah, Sands of Time. Well, who knows what's going on with Sands of Time? I don't think that. Do you think it ever comes out?
No, it's gone now.
I don't think so either. But that was the other game that had come out this year, The Lost Crown, which I did buy because it hit $20, but it did not sell.
No,
it looked cool as hell, and it reviewed very well. I think that was their highest reviewed game of the year.
Maybe.
But it just didn't sell. Nobody seemed to care. So, but yeah, I mean,
Beyond Good and Evil 2, just all the bangers.
All the bangers. Why is that? I still maintain that Beyond Good and Evil 2 is some sort of thing they're funneling money through illegally.
It almost seems like it's a joke, right?
Because it's got to be like they have some closet in the Ubisoft offices somewhere where there's like two guys that are kind of working on it, and then everybody else is funneling money into it.
It's just a weird case because like it keeps coming up. They keep talking about it. They talk about like
anytime it comes up, they're like, yeah, we're still working on it.
There's like merch for it.
It'll be like a t-shirt or a cup or something.
I just don't understand.
It's really bizarre. I don't get it. But every time somebody asks, hey, we're still working on that.
Yeah.
So I maintain that's the real reason it exists. They're funneling something through it. I think you put this in here because I don't think I put this in here, but it's hilarious to me and unshocking. Sony has delisted the original Horizon Zero Dawn on PC to force PSN requirement for the remaster, meaning you can only buy the remaster now.
Well, and this is after they doubled the price of the first game from 20 to 40
digitally
after that announcement, because now you got to pay 40 plus 10 to get.
Did they ever announce, did they confirm for sure you can do that update with a physical copy of the original Horizon?
I don't know.
Because I could totally see them being like, you got to be digital. I could see them doing it though.
Because you'd have to have your disc in the machine. So I don't. Because I mean,
if I was going to do that we're going to do that for the trophies, which I probably will, because it's $10.
Yeah,
I would use my.
I'll play it again for $10, but
I would have for $50.
No, or a PC.
Hey, they re-recorded 10 hours of dialogue.
I don't care. I just if the game looks slightly better,
they made her facial animations look better.
I don't care.
And then the last thing that I put in here,
I got one more after this.
You got one? Okay. Yeah. The last thing that I put in here that was late breaking today, and I just put it in because I laughed because I thought, who's still working on this? 343 is going to put a third-person mode into Halo Infinite in November.
Yeah, that's your 24th anniversary announcement.
Is that my 24th anniversary announcement? I will look at it because I still, from time to time, go back and play the Horde mode.
I'll only accept it if it ends up being tank controls.
There you go.
Just if we're gonna do it, completely fuck it up for me.
Go with go really hard.
Yeah, just go fucking crazy with it.
What's your final thing?
Well, you didn't bring it up, but I'll bring it up because there's a hot new game from a very established franchise that's coming out next year.
Next year,
okay. Yeah, you may have heard of this game.
Okay,
it's called Venus Vacation: Dead or Alive Extreme Prism.
Yes, I have heard of it. We have talked about this.
Hot title from an established franchise of volleyball games based off of fighting games. What if I told you in this game you don't have to fight or even play volleyball anymore?
What are you doing?
Or you're just dating girls from Dead or Alive. That's it.
Oh,
there's no mini games. There's no nothing. It's just
it's a
dating.
Does it have characters that are not from Dead or Alive in it as well?
No, this is a Dead or Alive game. It is called Venus Vacation, Dead or Alive Extreme Prism.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Japanese only?
Yeah, in full English, so PlayAsia.com.
It's almost as good as Like a Dragon, Yakuza Pirates in Hawaii.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But so far they put out like a little teaser thing, and they only showed one girl so far.
Who is the character they showed?
Misaki, which is from the newer Extreme Beach games.
Okay.
Not from Dead or Alive, which is what the volleyball games are based on.
What are the chances
series
of seeing Kokoro?
Given the fuck up. I'm not sure. There's only going to be 6. My assumptions are it would be
probably not Tina.
No. I would assume
Christy.
No, God no.
No.
Honoka maybe.
Oh yeah, Honka.
Yeah,
Honka.
She's probably one.
Yeah, that was the nickname we had.
Li Fang could probably be one.
I could see that. Okay. The names are coming back to me.
Yeah, I'm trying to. There was another one that they added for the last one.
For as many fucking hours of that I played.
I played. Well, I mean, you're talking to somebody who imported, Extreme 3 because we didn't get that here either. But, yeah, I mean, all they had to tell me was new Dead or Alive game. I don't care what it is. I'll buy it. Because I'm never getting another fighting game.
I don't think we're getting 7.
I don't think we're getting another volleyball game. I think that's
not
what this franchise
in America.
Is. No.
For sure.
If we get anything in America, it would be DOA 7. But at this point, it should just be Dead or Alive and just start over somehow. But yeah, it's already up for reserve on PlayAsia. It's full English, just like the last one was. But
what's the cost?
I think it's standard. I think it's $70.
Standard price.
Yeah.
And it just has a generic 2025. Does it have like a window?
No, supposedly they're going to announce more of the girls like over the next couple months. I think the next trailer is next week.
There we go.
They just said it's supposed to be like, I think just next year sometime. But I'm in. Doesn't matter.
They speak like so. Is it voice acted?
Oh, I'm sure it's voice acted all in Japanese.
Yeah. Okay.
Here, I'm pulling it up right now. Let me see.
I'm doing the English dub.
Oh, it's
gonna be
criminal.
It's gonna be really good.
Criminal. Yeah, it's $69.99.
Okay.
Yeah.
I have to buy this.
Some would say the correct price for the game.
Nice.
But yeah, no, that's I remembered
laughed.
We talked about it, but for whatever reason I was disconnected from it because I thought it was a dating sim that included some of those characters. I didn't realize it was solely
it is a Dead or Alive game.
Dead or Alive game.
They have officially given up. They know what they're doing.
they know what their audience.
Has there ever
wants.
been a franchise that has changed so wildly that it was started as a fighter and became a volleyball game, and now it's
the
just
only thing I can think of in comparison would be Yakuza going from fighting to RPG. That was a wild change.
To pirate game.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
whatever.
I'm so excited.
But the thing is in that franchise, at least all 3 versions still exist.
Yeah,
this one
that's the thing. That's the thing that I love about it so much is like it got announced. Remember they teased that it's gonna be like no other Yakuza game we've ever made, and then it got announced. And there's not a single person that's like, "Oh, I'm not into that."
No, it's just
Every response has been ultimately like, "Fuck yeah, I'm in." Like pirate game, I'm there. Samoa Joe's in it. Like, sure, we're there. So, but
Can't
there's
wait to hear Samoa Joe
zero
speak in
negative.
Japanese.
It's gonna be fucked up.
But there's been zero negativity around it, which has been awesome. So, well, Dan, it's time. We can kick over to movies.
I'm gonna take a break.
I'm gonna make you wait a little bit though. I'm gonna talk about the other stuff first, but I will be talking about Joker 2. Before I do, I will briefly talk about the other things. My girlfriend and I did finally sit down and finish The Boys season 4. It's fine. It is in a direction where it's going to have the ending that you would expect, because as I've said before, when that show ends, which will end at the 5th season, there's only one way it's going to end. Either the character Butcher is going to die or Homelander is going to die. And if either of these 2 characters die, there is no show anymore. Both of them are too strong of characters to exist in the next, doing a 6th season of the show. So it's heading to a logical conclusion. I would say this was easily the weakest of the seasons of that show. The show is known for going over the top with some things, there are things that happen in this season that even my girlfriend was like, that was a bit too far. So it has gotten to that level where I'm kind of like, yeah, I'm ready for it to be done. So, but we did finally finish that. I have not watched the new episode of The Penguin, so I'll talk about that next time. So before I get to Joker, the only other thing that I watched, I have a ton of stuff that I'll be watching the next time we record because a ton of shit has just come out. A ton of stuff has just hit digital, like Speak No Evil. Just hit digital the other day. I want to talk about that. That looks awesome. So for whatever reason, I decided I wanted to watch that Rosemary's Baby prequel, Apartment 7A. With that, I've never seen all of the original Rosemary's Baby, which probably is like crazy. You're thinking that I haven't seen that. What's weird, and I'll say this, is growing up in a religious household, that is my mom's favorite horror movie, which is fucked up. And the one that my dad always told me to watch when I got into college was Last House on the Left. And I remember renting that and being like, this is fucked up. Yeah. I don't know why. Yeah. I remember asking him after, like, do you remember much that? No, it was the 70s. Like, well, it was a bit far. So before I watched Apartment 7A, I was like, I'll watch the original Rosemary's Baby. And then I'll watch Apartment 7A. And obviously the original Rosemary's Baby, classic, considering there are some things you have to get over if you know about like what the director did in real life is really scummy, but we're not going to get into that. Anyways, so the prequel is fine. It's totally okay, but it just follows the same beats of the original movie. It does have the actress that was on Ozark that won all the Emmys, and she's really good in this. But my biggest problem with it is it doesn't do anything new. It just repeats every single beat from that original movie, except the only difference is she's not married to anybody. She just moves into this apartment after we'll say some convenient things happen, and she gets a room, or she gets an apartment in this complex, and then obviously the Satanists that live there push her towards trying to have this child. So it's okay. It's your generic typical streaming movie, so it's not terrible. But it doesn't add anything. Like, I feel like earlier this year we had the first Omen, and I think that's a fantastic prequel that really adds to the Omen. This isn't like that. I would never tell somebody, hey, sit down and watch Apartment 7A before you're going to watch Rosemary's Baby. It just wouldn't come up. So with those things being aside, let's talk about Joker 2. So Joker 2, I will preface this also by saying this will be a spoiler review, because there's no way to talk about this movie or why I have the feelings I have without spoiling it. So if you want to see a spoiler-free review of it, you can watch on the channel. I put up like a quick short. It's not good, but it is not good for it. It will surprise you why. So I will tell you, I actually enjoyed it up until the last 25 minutes, because it's a movie that torpedoes itself at the end in the worst possible way you could ever. It might be a movie that has one of the worst endings I've ever seen. So
hell yeah.
First, and I will maintain, I said this the whole time. I said this before I went in the movie, and I said it after. I never wanted a sequel to the Joker, and I didn't need this. And my whole point of going to it was prove me wrong. They couldn't prove me wrong. And I went into it with an open mind, even though seeing like all the reviews and stuff were pretty negative. But I'm like, okay. And I'll say, through like a good portion of the movie, I sat there going, I don't understand why the critics hated this, because it wasn't terrible. And then it has its churn. So I will go in as quickly as I can, as speedy as I can. So the movie, the original Joker, if you haven't seen the original Joker, it's a phenomenal movie. It's basically like a redone Taxi Driver, except it's Joker. By the end of that movie, they've taken the character of Arthur Fleck, and he's kind of just taken over the Joker persona. The whole point of that movie is he's going from Arthur Fleck, kind of like this loser character in life, and then he transforms himself into the Joker. At the end of that movie, he's killed 6 people. And so this movie opens up with him in Arkham. But his character has regressed back to just being Arthur Fleck. So he's not really the Joker. He's kind of struggling with it a little bit, but he's not really the Joker.
Okay.
And the first half hour, it's not really a musical. I'll say that too. Like it is probably the most visually striking movie I've seen this year too. It looks amazing. It looks just as good as the original, which makes me also question why this movie cost $200 million because it only takes place in a prison and a courtroom.
That's it.
It's Joaquin
and there's
Phoenix's
one scene in the
paycheck.
city. That is it. There are some shots of the city, like probably with drones and stuff, but that's it. It is either in Arkham or in this courtroom. It is mostly a courtroom drama. The courtroom drama part of it just basically recaps what happened in the first Joker. So if for whatever reason you didn't remember, you will by the end of this. The first 30 minutes of, like I said, there's not really any singing. They kind of start layering the story and what's going on. He's getting ready to go for his trial for killing 5 people. There is a 6th person. He killed his mother in the original, but he's never told anyone that. That does come to light later. But all of a sudden one day they have him walk into a thing and he happens to see Lady Gaga, who's playing a version of Harley Quinn here. She's known in this movie as Lee Quinn. In this room with a bunch of people just fucking singing, like a choir group type of thing, right? And for whatever reason, one of the parts I liked in the movie is that he has a rapport with this one guard who's played by it's an Irish actor. You've probably seen him a bunch of stuff. He's a character actor. Their relationship in the beginning of this movie is really good. They have kind of a goofy relationship where he'll tell him a joke and then he earns a cigarette. That's kind of like
pretty
a prison.
Good.
I will also say
cigarettes.
I one of the few stars I gave this movie was purely for the amount of smoking. They smoke so much in this movie. I've never seen so much cigarette smoking in my life. Every scene, they're lighting up cigarettes. He's going to visit a doctor. The doctor's handing him a fucking cigarette. I get it was the 80s, but it is every scene in this movie.
Awesome.
They're smoking, and everyone is smoking. The guards are smoking. He's smoking. Cops are smoking. Everyone is smoking. But anyways, he sees Lee Quinzel, and then all of a sudden this guard's like, "Hey, I got you into this choir group," and he goes in there, and then kind of out of nowhere, at one point after he meets her, he's standing in this room, and the guy's asking about how he feels. He just starts fucking singing a song, and you're like, okay, I guess that's where the musical part of this movie is going to come in. The problem with the musical aspect of it is none of the musical is original. It's what you refer to as a jukebox musical. The music, when they do a musical number where it's a big production, they're on a stage, some of the shots you've seen in the trailer, that stuff's fine. It all looks really cool. The problem is there's only maybe 3 of those in the movie. The rest of them are just people singing like you would if you were in the shower or something. So they waste Lady Gaga at that point. Lady Gaga is a phenomenal singer. She's wasted in this movie, I feel with her singing. They don't never really give her a chance to really let loose and sing. And that's dumb for something you want to call a musical. And the other problem I have with the songs that they do select, they all have the same theme. They're all just about being happy. And they don't fit, none of it fits to convey anything these characters are feeling in the moment or anything like that, other than well, life sucks and I'm depressed, but I guess I should be happy. So it's in that sense, it doesn't make very much sense as a musical. But anyways, to go quickly through it, obviously Lady Gaga's character, she's crazy. She's in love with the Joker, but not Arthur Fleck. There's a scene where I'm still trying to wrap my mind around if it was real or not, where he gets thrown in solitary confinement, but then she somehow persuades the guard to go in there and they just bang, and then she becomes pregnant at one point in the movie. But you never know if she's actually really pregnant, and the whole time she's still smoking. But again, it's the 80s and everybody was smoking. So that part of it, that was the one part that I kept going back to. I'm like, did that happen or no? Because that's how the original movie was. Did some of these things he see, did they actually happen, or is it in his head?
Anyways, American Psycho.
So exactly. So he gets through the courtroom drama, and you have it. He has his own lawyer. The lawyer's trying to have him plead insanity because he's killed 5 people. And at a certain point, through being pressured by Lady Gaga, he finally snaps and fires his lawyer and goes, "I'm going to represent myself."
Of course.
And so the next scene he comes in, he's in his full Joker makeup, and they bring in the dwarf character from the first movie because that character actually saw him murder someone, and he's a witness, and he has to interrogate him. And for whatever fucking reason, I do not understand. And I maybe it was to be funny. I thought this was unintentionally hilarious. This entire scene, while he's playing the Joker, he speaks in a Southern drawl. So while he interrogates this guy, he's like, "Well, excuse me, sir," and like he speaks like that the entire time. And I'm just like, I don't know if it was done. Like I couldn't figure it out.
Do you think that they didn't even tell Joaquin Phoenix they were taping, and he just did that?
Absolutely. He's fine. He's incredible in the movie, like he was in the first one. He's not the problem, and I'll say Lady Gaga's not the problem in this movie either. So anyways, they go through it and whatever, and they're really pushing this idea. The whole point is they're pushing the idea of, oh, he's going to really embrace this Joker character again. All right. So then all of a sudden, when he's going on his tirades and interviewing this guy, he happens to mention the fact that he doesn't want to go back to Arkham to deal with the fat prison guards that he deals with, which this whole thing's being televised. That pisses off the guards, right? So he goes back. He gets beaten the shit out of by the guards, and this one guy that he's kind of friends with, like down the hall in his like cell block, off camera, they just fucking kill this dude, and you hear it. Oh, like they just suffocate him, and all of a sudden they're like, "Hey, wake that guy up!" Oh, he's fucking dead. Okay, so you get to the next day, and this is where the movie churns. You get to the next day, it's the end of this trial. They're sitting there, and he goes. They're like, "Okay, you can go ahead and do your closing comments." He picks up his little chair, he sits down, he takes the microphone, and the judge is like, "I don't want you to be a clown. You like, or we're gonna shut this down." He's like, "Okay." He sits for a minute, he looks in, and he just goes, "Yeah, actually, I'm not the Joker. I'm Arthur Fleck, and I killed 6 people, and I don't want to do this anymore. I don't want to be the Joker anymore." And you're kind of like, okay. And Lady Gaga's character, who's Harley Quinn or whatever, she gets up and leaves the courtroom because she's pissed off. And after that, a bomb goes off and blows up the fucking thing as he's about to get his verdict. And so he gets out, like obviously the one thing I thought that was funny is the other lawyer that's not the defense lawyer, but the prosecutor. Yeah, I couldn't think of the word. Is Harvey Dent. So when the bomb goes up, they briefly show his body just laying there, and they did the face thing, and that made me laugh because I'm like, there's no point to that, but whatever. I guess that's their Easter egg, right? He's also wasted in this movie. So he kind of fumbles around, gets out, and there's all these people that are wearing Joker masks out, like in the crowd, because all these people still love him. That's part of the point. Like he creates chaos. And one of these guys is dressed up just like him, like as the Joker. And he's like, hey, man, get in this car. We got to go. We got to get in this car. And they shove him in this car and they start driving away. This is the only scene of the movie that does not take place in a courtroom or in the fucking prison. And they're driving along. He's sitting in the car, and I'm like, okay, I can see where this is going, right? Like he thought he was gonna give up being the Joker, but he's gonna embrace it because the whole time he's in the car, the guy's like, yeah, man, you set off a plan. We're gonna burn this fucking city to the ground. Like this dude's going off, and I'm like, okay, that's fine. If that's where they're gonna end the movie, I would have been okay. And I'm like, it's fine, but I didn't need it. But instead, he goes, no, I still don't want to do it. He jumps out of the car and starts running away. And these 2 guys get out of the car and chase him. One gets hit by a car. The other guy gets arrested. He runs back to the stairs that you've seen from the original movie. You know what that is, where he's dancing. Yeah. At the very top of him, Lady Gaga's sitting there. And he walks up and he's like, hey, I got out. We can go have this life together, whatever. And she basically is like, no, I don't want anything to do with you. You're not the Joker. You're Arthur Fleck. And you're like, okay. And then the cops come and arrest him. So he goes back to prison. And the end of this movie is he's sitting there watching something, and a guard comes, he says, hey, you have a visitor. And you're like, okay, it's going to be Harley Quinn. So as he's walking, this other fucking dude who's been a creeper in the background the entire movie walks up. He's like, hey, I got a joke for you. Do you want to hear it really quick? And he's like, turns around, he's like, yeah. And he tells this little joke, and the punchline I'm not going to tell the joke because it's stupid, but the punchline at the end of his is you get what you fucking deserve from the end of the first movie, and he stabs and kills him. And that's the end of the movie.
Oh, yeah.
They killed him.
They killed the Joker?
He's dead. That's the end of the movie. They killed Arthur Fleck. Well, and then that director today came out, he's like, he was never supposed to be the Joker. And I'm like, I get that, and I understood that, and that made perfect sense for the first movie. And fine, I can accept that. But when you have a second movie that has Harley Quinn and Harvey Dent, what is this fucking universe you've created then? Like, it's so stupid. So it completely destroys the character they built in the first movie. Like 100%. It torpedoed the last 25 minutes, just torpedoes it. Because every other part of it, like I could even forgive like the shittier parts of it being a musical. I'm not a person that likes musicals at all. I didn't hate the musical parts of this movie, which is shocking. And the beginning of the movie is a cool throwback to like 30s Warner animation, which is kind of cool too.
That's
cool. Like it even starts pretty cool, but it torpedoed itself at the end. For me, it's a 3 out of 10. Like I will never watch it again. So my girlfriend hated it more than I did. That movie ended, and I looked at my one friend to the left of me that went, and he's like, it was okay, but I don't care for the ending. And I look at my girlfriend, I'm like, what did you think? And she sat there, and I'm like, okay, we're going to go. The movie's over. And she just continued to sit there. And I'm like, are you okay? And she's like, I cannot believe they just killed him. And I'm like, it is what it is. So, it's fucking terrible. So
keep smiling.
I had told anybody I've said so far, I'm like, if you like, don't bother going to see it, just watch the original again. It's such a great movie in contrast. And the biggest problem I have, otherwise I can't get over, and I'll be done here ranting about it. I cannot for the life of me understand what cost $200 million fucking dollars in this movie compared to the original. They look identical visually, but there was less they did in this movie. Like even the couple musical numbers couldn't have cost that much money. So like, what was the money spent on? Because they're not going to make it back. We've been joking.
Taxes.
We've been joking all week, and you've been included on it, Eric. I've been sending you every day, like, look at the amount of people that bought tickets for the showing of the Joker. I will say, there were 7 people in the theater I saw it. Opening night, 7 fucking people.
Boy,
what a stark contrast to the original 2019 Joker, where they thought that the world was going to go on fire because of that movie. If you remember, putting the cops in the theater and stuff. So it's terrible. Don't waste your money on it. Don't bother. Watch The Penguin is what I tell people. Like, you want to see a villain done correctly and you like The Sopranos, watch The Penguin. I'm done with that, Dan. Why don't you briefly go over?
I watched one movie, and because
I got it for you.
Well, it's just one of those things where like I decided I think I'm going to just watch basically every Jackie Chan movie I can find again. Just go through them again. And I'm not going to watch them in any particular order. I'll just do it randomly.
Doesn't matter.
It does.
Yeah.
And so the first one that popped up on the server was The Medallion, which I do remember because I did see it obviously like when it came out.
I saw it too.
Because I was at a point where I was just going to a mall no matter what.
Wasn't there a game? Wasn't there a Medallion game?
I don't think there's a game for that.
No, not about this.
Okay.
This movie's a piece of shit.
Never mind.
This movie sucks.
Yeah.
It's not good.
No, it's one of his worst. And it's not his fault. It's because it was in the part where they were still trying to make like it's a Chinese movie, but it's made for American audiences, but it's set in Europe, and it stars like a comedian from the UK
that nobody over here knows.
Right, that nobody over here knows, but he's been in a couple things. The movie's a weird cross between like a comedy and a Jackie Chan movie, but it's also serious. And, basically like he dies and gets superpowers from this medallion, and he has to stop the bad guy who got superpowers from the medallion. But it's just a very clunky mess. It's all like he's using wires, and he could like fly at the end of it. It's so weird. And
I remember that vaguely.
Yeah, it's at the very end, where like he brings the girl back with the other half of the medallion, and then now they're both superpowered. But watching it again now, you can tell that this movie must have been in some kind of odd development hell, because there are a lot of plot lines that don't make any sense and they never pay off, or there's things that are just never explained.
Forgotten.
So or were clearly rewritten, and they just had no idea what the final edit of this movie was going to be, because the biggest the biggest plot hole is, so they all work for Interpol, and they have to go to Dublin, Ireland, because that's where they could afford to shoot this movie. And the one guy, like his partner, lives in this like country home with his wife and his son. And when they get there, he says, you know, my wife doesn't know I work for Interpol. She thinks I'm a librarian, and just keep it up. I don't want her to know. Like, that's kind of fucked up because you're just an Interpol agent. It's not like you're a fucking super spy. You're Interpol. You are international police. It's not a bad job to have. But so later they end up having to go to his house because they think that his house is going to be targeted, and they get there and they're fine. But then obviously like the bad guys show up and start causing a problem. His wife gets up. All of a sudden she's an action star, dude. She knows where all the guns are in the house. She breaks open the secret wall, gets a shotgun out, flipping it around, cocks it, tosses it to the guy, kicks this one dude in the face. And it's just like, what? I don't understand. Even if she was pretending not to know that he was an Interpol agent, why is she a karate master or a kung fu or whatever, and a weapons expert? That is so out of like the realm of what it should have been. My guess is that originally she was also an Interpol agent.
Probably.
And that's not a plot line that had to be dropped. They could have just been, she could have been retired because they had the kid or anything. But it's little pieces like that throughout the movie where they'll say something and then something else will happen that's the complete opposite, but no one will say a word. It's
awesome.
Yeah, it's just such a fucking mess of a movie. And you know how you know that movie was just not had no thought behind it? The closing song to that movie is an Avril Lavigne song.
Wow. Which one?
Jackie, it's Nomad from like 2003.
Amazing.
Like whenever this movie was made. But it does a lot of that, like, let's put in popular American songs into this Chinese-made movie for American audiences shot in Ireland.
Yeah.
It's because remember, he went through that period where, like, after Rush, like, so he came in with, like, Rumble in the Bronx was, like, the first, like, main one. And that was, like, the one that introduced me to it and everything.
Yeah.
And it was...
That's a good one to start with.
That's a great one to start with. But... then he got, and then eventually he got to Rush Hour and became popular, and that's when they just started like cranking out Americanized Jackie Chan.
Rush Hour was my first one, and then after it was Who Am I?
Yeah, well but that's when you started to get to watch the good Chinese stuff.
Yeah, and then it became going to the video store with my dad. Well, what Jackie Chan movies can we find?
Yeah,
and that was around the same time we got Martial Law on TV.
Oh, I love Martial Law.
I don't even know why. You guys know my mother was very restrictive on what I was allowed to watch, but we wound up with a double DVD at some point in the probably mid 2000s. That was 2 Jackie Chan movies.
Okay.
And it was
Project A.
No, it was Master with Cracked Fingers.
Oh, these are old ones. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
And even older, Fantasy Mission Force.
Wow. Okay.
Wow.
I was thinking I think it was even going to be newer stuff that was like Wheels on Wheels or something like that.
It was like ancient Jackie. And so that was my first exposure. And I was like, I am a little confused. And then not long after that, I saw Rush Hour 2. And I'm like,
yeah. And that's why when he got big on the Rush Hour stuff, they started to release a lot of his old stuff where you can get it on like 2-packs, 4-packs. Like, I think I had, for a long time, I had a 4-pack of those. Project A and Project A2, which are terrible. And Operation Condor and Operation Condor 2, which are terrible. But, yeah, so I'm going to get through some more, maybe do like some kind of definitive ranking. So as of right now, Medallion's the best Jackie Chan movie ever made until I watch another one. It was so bad.
Did you watch the trailer for that one I told you about?
Which one?
Weekend in Tapai or whatever.
No.
That is just like, because we saw a trailer for it. I never heard, and it wasn't even a regular trailer. It was played during like the ads portion you have to sit through at the theater.
Oh.
And all of a sudden it was just like, here's this fucking movie. And I see like Luke Evans run around. I'm like, okay, and then they showed Han from Fast and Furious, and they're driving these fast cars. I'm like, is this some sort of fucked up Fast and Furious spinoff that I don't know about?
No, they're just using the fact that they were in those movies to sell this movie.
It looks crazy. It's probably terrible.
Weekend in Taipei, yeah.
It's already out.
Well,
like, because I even laughed when it came up. It was like, this September. I'm like, it's October, dude. What's going on?
From the creators of Taken and Transporter. Those are movies that came out like 20 years ago.
I laughed at that too, yeah. The other thing I'll tell you, because you'll enjoy this, Eric. When we went to the movies last night, I was hoping they'd show the Nosferatu trailer. They did not, and I mentioned it to our friend of the show, Ross, and he's like, "Which Dracula movie is the one Gerard Butler's in?" And I was like, "It's Dracula 2000. Was that a good one?" I'm like, "That movie's fucking awesome. You should watch it." I'm like, "You want to see like new metal Dracula?
Yeah,
you need to see that." He's like, "I'm gonna watch that," and I'm pretty sure he watched that like today. So which one was that? I'm like, Dracula 2000, dude. Amazing movie. All the new metal, all the time.
What else do you need?
What else do you need? We can kick it over to emails. I did not see. I did get to see the Wolfman trailer again. I thought that was cool, but that movie continues to look pretty cool. We can kick over to emails. Our first email that we have today comes from Jason from Austin, Texas. Hi guys, with more info coming out on the PS5 Pro offering benefits for PS4 games and more games being confirmed for updates, has this swayed any of you in buying the system, or are you all still sticking with your base PS5 systems? Nothing has swayed me in my decision currently.
It's just still too much, man. Like, I can't justify $700 plus $80.
The only game that would sway me into buying a PS5 Pro at hopefully a price drop at the time the game comes out would be Death Stranding 2. But I would also hope there's some sort of price drop at that point.
I just don't know what it would take. I'm so let down by the lack of a disc drive and the fact that I'd have to buy another one.
That's the biggest issue. And then it's also a slap to the face to
100 PS4 and PS5 games I have.
Well, and that's the thing. It's also a slap to the face to then offer like, oh, we're going to do all these updates for PS4 games on it as well.
Right.
Cool. Most of us have physical libraries for that.
Yeah. Like not a ton of people were just buying digital stuff in the PS4 era. That's a newer thing.
Exactly.
So yeah, it's just I would love one. I would love to have my stuff look better, but I can't justify $800 to do so. And yeah, I could get a trade-in on my current PS5, but like even then, I'm still paying $600.
I did the math on it the other day because I looked at like what the current trade, because they're doing a thing right now where it's like, what does you get, like 330 credit, 350 credit, something like a considerable amount more credit. But even then, you're still paying for another half of that, which is, another $400, and you have to get a disc drive.
Right.
So, it's probably still impossible to get those, isn't it?
They're coming back.
I don't think they've restocked.
No, they're coming back. They came back on GameStop for like, if you're a pro member, you could get one. They at least know how to manage some of that by just making you pro member stuff.
Yeah.
People will complain about that, but that really what that is that's an attempt to stop resellers. Is to force people to have
a lot of resellers are not going to buy a pro card, especially at $25 or whatever it is now.
God, I was in there buying Zelda, and they tried to get me to renew my card because it's coming up in like November, and it was like, well, you'd save $5 off of it, and then it'd be another $10 off, and I was like, it's still $10 for nothing.
No,
and I think I sent the picture to you, Eric, and our other friend, where it's like, the Pro Week was get 10% off used games instead of 5%. And I just sent you that picture. I was like, remember when this was what it used to be?
Yeah.
And you got a magazine and it was $10 less. Like, what the fuck? Why would I be okay with this during double Pro Week? That's bullshit.
No, thanks.
That was the norm.
There was a
Pro Week used to be 20% off, right?
Yeah.
Yes. Pro Week used to be 20% off.
Mm-hmm. Buy two get one frees in Pro Week, and more trades, and like certain games would be on sale. But like now it's like we'll double the discount on used stuff from 5 to 10. Well, games are already more expensive now, anyways. So the discount between a new and used is less than it used to be, percentage wise. And now you're not even taking off the full 10%. Fuck off for $25.
No,
trash.
Insane.
Trash.
Who
is okay with this?
I had a brief moment this week where I was like, maybe I should just go and reserve that copy of Silent Hill at the GameStop over here. And then I was like, no, because I don't want to go through what you just went through. You want to get this Pro card? You want to get that? I don't want
the Pro card. The Pro card is good for people who buy Pokemon cards, packs all the time. That's who it's for. Get a free pack every month, and you get 10% off, and you get 5% off Pokemon card pack.
Are there I would have to imagine that's a big market for GameStop now.
There are now like the whole retro store thing. There are now stores that are TCG stores, which have that section has been blown up. So I went to our local one Saturday to get Zelda, right? Yeah. It was how it always had looked. And then I went back the next day because my son and I had some time to kill. And he's like, you want to go to GameStop? Okay, sure, fine. Walk in there. They had done that reset that morning. And now the TCG section in there is probably 15 or 18 feet. So remember, like that's many 6 shelves long. And it looked terrible because they didn't have enough packs of cards.
Stores are in our area. You would know.
I don't know. I don't know what the retro store in our area is because this store that I went to is not a retro store, but they have a ton of the stuff because they refuse to send it out.
Oh,
my friend does have a store that is both, which is crazy.
That seems. So what? Do they have any games?
It's just weird because it's like she has a giant TCG section on one end of the counter.
Yeah.
And then she has the retro section next to the case. She might be getting another case. But like, if you think about it this way, how much space does Xbox One need on the wall?
Nothing.
Maybe 3 feet. Maybe 3
feet. Yeah.
That section's dead.
Her Xbox doesn't need much.
No.
At all.
Yeah.
So, boy. Top from Grand Rapids, Michigan. Howdy 572 crew. With the recent delay for Assassin's Creed Shadows to February, new rumors are swirling that they may actually remove Yasuke from the game completely. Do you think that they would do this, and is it even possible if doing this to have it done by February, or would it delay the game further? Like we were talking about this before we recorded. I don't think it's possible.
There's no way. Like that would be
to remove that character.
That would be a concession on some other level than just canceling the game.
But they would have to go back because it's not just like, okay, we remove the character, you can't play as a character in the game anymore. They would have to go back and edit every single cutscene that dude's in.
The rewrites of that game to make the girl the main character for everything.
Yeah, and I also don't know how the cutscenes work. Right. Like, is it just like a choice like Odyssey where you play as one or the other and they show up occasionally? Is it more than that? I have no idea because the game's not out yet. So I feel like it would be so much work.
I feel like that is such a crazy concession to all of the stuff that's been going on around this game about how people are flipping out about.
You would just cancel Yasuke and stuff.
Well, you would just cancel it because there's no. I don't think that's enough goodwill to win people back to play the game, right?
No.
I don't either. I think it was delayed to February to get the blowback to die down.
I think it's delayed to February because Star Wars Outlaws sucked.
And Outlaws was extremely poor in its sales.
Well, and not only that, but it's buggy. They can't release
put out a patch
second game in a row within a couple months of each other that also doesn't work out of the gate. They cannot do that anymore. And especially with everything going on with the stock and everything, like the company's in fucking shambles. And you're telling me that they're going to spend money to edit this dude out?
I don't think so.
They can't do that.
Yeah.
Do you think when this game comes out, and I think it will, I don't think it'll be as big of a flop as Star Wars Outlaws, but I don't think it's going to do extremely well either. Do you think it will kill the franchise for a while?
No, because they have the other one. They have the other one coming.
Oh, the green tinted one?
Isn't Hex the next one?
I think so.
Yeah. So
I think Hex is a code name, to be fair.
Sure, but maybe I mean, Assassin's Creed does that thing where like it overloads and then it needs to take a break, and it overloads and needs to take a break. I had thought we were on the other side of the break because of like they were doing the thing where like we made Mirage and we made this one, and they're two different things. But the problem is if Assassin's Creed takes a break, what do they have?
Nothing. They have not talked about Far Cry in a long time.
No.
There were like some rumors that they were working on something new with that franchise, but like we haven't heard about it forever.
It's crazy because
Splinter Cell's dead.
Maybe they should just make a new Rayman, right?
Yeah.
They made two good Rayman games. Why not keep it going?
Games. Yeah. You could
it's been
even
years
now.
Since that last
those were older Xbox One titles.
Yeah.
I think the first one was 360.
Yeah,
and the second one was Xbox One.
Yeah, you're totally right. Yeah.
But
you could even test the waters and put out a double pack remaster of those games.
Yeah,
and I think they'd probably
people would
sell
buy
okay.
that, for sure.
Look at like right now, what was it? Epic Mickey. They just remastered. It came out. They can that seems to be selling pretty well. If they can redo
Epic Mickey, they can easily put both those Rayman games out like together for $50. People would, because there's not much you'd really have to do to those games. They're hand drawn animation stuff. Like,
well, that was one of those Ubi art games,
right.
So like it looked incredible visually. And like Epic Mickey, I remember had like kind of some of the visual flair, not the same type of art style, but that's a good game to remaster today.
Yeah.
And I think that Rayman would be in the same vein of something good to remaster today.
But they've also, we've also seen that they can't even fucking do remasters because they can't put out Prince of Persia.
Well, Prince of Persia's dead at this point. What was that? Was that earlier this year when they put out the thing that said 2026 and we laughed at it? Yeah.
Why even bother?
For what? It's a remake of that game at this point. Like, what is this thing? So, yeah, I just, but to circle back on it, I don't see a way in which that game releases without that character.
It'd be crazy. It'd be,
and if for whatever reason they did decide to do that, it would not come out in February. There's no way they have enough time.
But again, like that means they're giving in.
It does, and I don't see them doing it for that game.
What if they give in? Then why? How could they ever make anything again? Because in the minute they announce something else, and people complain about that, it's like, well, you gave in last time. You cut an entire character out of this game. You cut probably half of the content in this game.
It would have to be, because at that point, and I don't think you would replace the character. I think you would just cut him out, and it just you play as the female,
right?
Which fine, whatever, but I don't know. I'm still on the fence of I'm not going to play it just because I haven't even played Valhalla that much. So and this looks like too much going on.
Yeah.
Like Odyssey was too much, but I enjoyed it. Valhalla is like even more, and I never even got the expansion for that or anything. I played like 5 hours of it and was like, I can't do another one of these.
About how much I did.
And not that it's a bad game. I thought it was fine.
Yeah,
but it's too much. So I look at this guy, it's too overwhelming now. And now there's two characters that I guess you take turns playing. I don't think you pick one. I think you take turns, from my understanding.
Well, then if that's the case, then it's impossible to cut
and that's why I said I think it would be impossible. So next email we have, we're talking about Gamergate again, Dan. I'm sorry.
Can't wait.
Do you know anything about this latest thing or no?
I stopped paying attention. I black out when I read it.
All right. Hi guys, I should go back. Ryan from Sioux Falls, South Dakota. Hi guys, love the podcast. Know you've covered this in the past. You're probably sick of it. We are. But what do you think about the Gamergate 2 getting into lawsuit territory now? Will anything come of it? It seems pretty clear cut who will be the winner, but we do live in pretty crazy times. So there is a lawsuit that's going on right now. I don't know if you've heard anything about it.
Oh.
The Kotaku journalist / blogger, whatever you want to call her, Alyssa Mercante, is suing that YouTuber Smash JT for defamatory, but it's not like you can't really sue him for what, like she went to a ambulance chasing lawyer basically.
Okay.
And this guy wrote like a very not like kind of semi-professional 5-page letter that reads more like you're scolding someone than it does, and they're basically asking for this guy to apologize. So the YouTuber Smash JT went to, I'm sure you've heard of this internet lawyer Ron Coleman. I'm sure you've heard that name before.
I think so.
Very prominent internet, obviously YouTube related lawyer. And that guy, I mean, we're talking the comparisons of a ambulance chasing lawyer to a hard fucking core lawyer. Like that's the difference here. That guy sent back a 1-page rebuttal. It's like, we're not doing any of this. Like, this is ridiculous. It's basically like, if you want to go to court, let's go. We'll go to court because she's gonna lose. Like there's no way. And apparently it seems like they're gonna fucking go to court. The other part of it, and this is the part that's ridiculous to me, is for whatever reason that guy decided, hey, I'll put up a GoFundMe if anybody wants to, not thinking that it would really, anybody would want to cover his legal funds. It made triple of what he said it at.
Wow.
So the people on the other person's side started doing a bunch of reporting, and is it GoFundMe? I think that's the most famous one people use. Actually halted it because it hit 3 times the amount. And the latest thing I saw, I think it was today, was that he'll be able to use like the amount, but because of some stipulation, the rest of it he can donate to a charity or something, and that's what he's going to do, and that's fine. Like, the dude doesn't care.
Right.
He did it literally to see if anybody would. He did not expect that, So, and who knows what his legal fees are going to be if this thing actually goes to court. I don't imagine it would be in court very long because it's so stupid.
It'll get thrown out or settled or something.
I don't think it makes it. I think it gets settled. That's what I think, and I think that'll be the end of it. But like, I feel like he should, because it's just the things, like, one of the things that I saw that was floating around was like some of the things, because basically she's like, I'm tired of people talking ill about me on the internet, but then she turns around and does the same fucking thing to everybody else that does. It's like, you can't have it one way.
Well, I mean,
like,
she's not allowed to reach out to his wife on Facebook, and
that's the other thing. He's like, if you really want to come at me, and now the lawyer, that he's got involved, it's like, we can go down this road, but we can talk about when you went after my wife, when you did this. Like, there's a whole mess of things that he has all the proof for. We've seen over and over again. So like, it could get real nasty real fast. So I don't know. It's interesting to see. I'm not surprised it got to lawsuit territory, because I kind of always figured something stupid was going to happen where it would get to that.
Yeah.
As far as will anything come of it, I would kind of hope that, like, when the lawsuit part of it is done, maybe we're kind of done with that for a while. I mean, there's always, at this point, YouTubers that talk about these kind of things has kind of become a separate section of YouTube, I would say. And I don't think it's going to go away anytime soon, is what it is. But anything positive come out of it? I don't know. I mean, maybe somehow it blows back and that's the end of Kotaku, but I doubt that would happen.
That's the dream. But
the dream would be Kotaku be over and we could all cheer.
Just move on.
It's gonna be the end of Star Wars. Everybody's gonna be cheering, and we're gonna be hanging out. And when I say end of Star Wars, I mean episode 6, of course. So I'll throw that in for you, Eric.
That's the correct answer.
The correct answer would be episode 6. Yeah. So, but I would hope for it to be over. So I'd like to get back to the point where we can just fucking talk about video games and not have everything to be about culture wars. So, next email we have comes to us from Grant from Denver, Colorado. Hi, dudes. You've recently, through the last few months, been extremely critical of Microsoft. We sure have. No one, I think, would complain. It's warranted. But TGS 2024 saw Microsoft at the conference probably bigger than ever. Do you think that they are ever going to just come out and say what their plan is? It feels like even people at the company don't even know what is going on at times. Do you think that they keep quiet because they are prepping some huge next-gen comeback? Or do you think they quietly are prepping to go fully third-party and exit hardware like Sega? I think I'll throw my 2 cents in, and then I'll let you go, Dan.
Okay.
I think, just looking over everything, I think they give it a shot with this next generation of having hardware and doing the third-party thing. And I think if it goes like this generation, where people do buy the system or the handheld, and I think the handheld will do very well, I think you could potentially see a future where maybe they just have the handheld if it does well, and they do go third-party otherwise. But I think that we'll get to a point where if they decide, fuck it, we're not making hardware anymore, there's still somehow going to be a way for you to access your digital purchases. Maybe they work out a deal with another. I mean, they're going to be, at this point, they are the largest third-party publisher in America now, right? With everything that they own. And they're, as we've laughed and joked about, they're like Sony's number one because they have all these games that are in the top 10 digital.
Minecraft.
Yeah, and Call of Duty is going to be milking it at the end of this month. So I think the future for them is after this next generation. If it's worse than this generation for them, I potentially see they just are a third-party publisher, but they have to figure out a way for people to retain those digital purchases somehow for a while.
Yeah. I agree with most of that. I think the plan, first off, who even knows what the plan? Do people there even know what the plan is? I don't know. I don't know.
Above Phil Spencer does, and I think he does to an extent.
I don't know how far out they're planning is the problem. But I think you're right. I think if they're smart about what's happening, they're essentially writing off this generation and just go, we got our asses kicked. We messed up. We made it too complicated. All these different systems and blah, blah, blah. Why don't we reset, go for it with the next one last time, make a console, make a handheld, make them work together. It plays everything you currently own. We won't worry about that kind of stuff. And then but they still do the third party publishing, and there's more of it. Yeah. I think they've realized that putting stuff on PlayStation isn't hurting them. It's only helping them.
It's only helping
because they're just selling games they're selling copies of these games to people on another platform. They're making money off it. It's not like you're gonna say we're putting out Sea of Thieves on PlayStation and it's gonna make people buy an Xbox. That's not the point. The point is they're gonna buy Sea of Thieves for PlayStation. Especially for third party releasing stuff that's already been on Xbox. If people wanted it that bad, they would have bought an Xbox for it. And if not, we're just making the extra money off the end of it. Call of Duty is going to bring in all the money. Minecraft will print money for the rest of its existence. The Diablo expansion is next week. All of this stuff is like they have plenty of. We joke like they don't make games, they don't release games. Stuff is coming, but
it is.
There is a huge market for them to release older stuff on PlayStation. Release the last Forza game on there. What could it hurt? It would sell close to Gran Turismo numbers on PlayStation.
The Forza Horizon 5 is what, 3? It's been 3 years now, right?
Put the last Horizon game on there.
It's fine.
That wouldn't hurt anything. If anything,
nobody would be upset at this point.
People would love if that game came out on PlayStation. Are you crazy?
Yeah. I would play the shit out of that. It would be on PlayStation.
Awesome on PlayStation. Yep. Make it $60 digital. Don't release physical. Who cares? But it would sell on a PlayStation. And it might not hit Gran Turismo numbers just because it's a Gran Turismo box, even though Gran Turismo isn't anywhere near as popular as it used to be. But I think you'll see more of that going forward because it's working. But I still think they give it one more shot with another console. And if they somehow fuck that up again, which, let's be honest, they could, and they probably will.
I mean, I remember there was an interview at one point this generation. I don't remember where it was or what outlet, but I do remember Phil Spencer admitting, like, we lost the worst possible generation we could have, which is the Xbox One generation, because that's when people really built their digital library. Right. So my only other thing I would throw in as a monkey wrench with the handheld, and this they need to do this up front, out the gate, and say, it is not expected to work with every game that comes out. Do not shoehorn it like in a series.
No, it's a Steam Deck.
Yeah,
stuff works for it, or
it will play most things. It might vary.
Works for it, or it doesn't.
Stuff might not.
It needs to be able to download and play games on it, and it needs to work the way a Portal does. That's the two things it needs to do, and it'll be just fine. If it works the same way a Portal does, then it's perfectly fine to use in your house to just play your Xbox. But it needs to be able to be taken on the road and not have to connect to Wi-Fi to play some stuff.
I agree with that, because that would be what would be my selling point for one. At 100%.
Imagine if you could take it to a hotel and you don't have to connect it to Wi-Fi. Or if you're on your way to work and you take a bus or a train, you have to connect to Wi-Fi. That's what it really needs to do. So there needs to be some kind of thing built in where it can play digital stuff and it only has to check once every 24 hours.
And
I need to be able to play Blinks the Time Cat in a mobile format.
Fuck off. There's a time sweeper.
Sorry. But he's also a time cat.
Sweeps time.
But he's a cat.
I understand that. But it's not it's not his official designation.
But also no proprietary memory either. I'm done with that.
No,
just let people use SD cards or whatever and be done.
Yeah, let them use
this
those
expansion card we made with Western Digital.
No,
that's
let them use whatever. They make those weird SD cards now, right? That are like the hyper SD card. They're not called hyper. That's fine. But you know what I'm talking about. Make them use
I know
those.
what you mean.
Make them use the fancy high level standard stuff. That's fine too. Doesn't matter.
That's fine.
It only needs to end.
Because the price will decrease on that.
As a portable thing, it only really needs to probably have 500 gigs inside of it.
Yeah,
as a port.
as long as you can expand
you're not
it,
putting your whole fucking library on there. Or if you connect to Wi-Fi, you can stream Game Pass stuff like you can on your system.
I mean, I would imagine that would be a feature of it because they will.
The thing
push
should
that.
boot up and should have a tile that says Game Pass, and you just pick that.
Can you imagine if they put that out and it plays any of your old digital library, like original Xbox digital games,
crazy.
And like how crazy?
But the thing is, it should be able to.
It should be, yeah.
I don't see why it wouldn't be able to, because again, it's going to be a Windows-based handheld.
Yeah,
it's a Steam Deck,
and they've teased it enough. Yeah. They're like, they have to be working.
I think that is a huge way to get people back into an Xbox branded product. Because the other thing about it is that you need to be able to buy it without owning whatever the next Xbox is.
Yeah, and that's
that was going to be what I was going to say. Like, as someone that's been, I mean, you guys know, but
you haven't had an Xbox since 2016.
Yeah, I mean, because I bought the Xbox One night one with you guys.
Yeah.
You know, we were all at that midnight and bought that, and I had it for some time. But yeah, that generation just got overtaken so bad. I think it's the only generation where I have switch sides mid-generation
and just and never looked
because
back.
for the most part, like I've never had both consoles in like a console war generation or whatever. Yeah. It's like I pick one and I usually stick with that the entire way through. But that one was just like, man, there's so much good shit on the PlayStation side. Yeah. And at the time, like I don't know why I was really picky about like the general Xbox One interface. Like I just hated navigating things
much
on
better,
the Xbox.
But yeah, then it was.
I'm sure.
The party system was terrible.
No, well, and I feel like it was at that time. There's like, hey, remember Windows phones and tiles?
Yeah.
Dude, fucking love tiles, man.
I love tiles. They're so good. They're not as good as blades, but love a good tile.
Okay, that's another thing. The handheld needs to use blades. No other menu system.
Cool would that
be? Man, you're just printing money. Yeah, but that's what I was gonna say. Like, you put out a solid handheld, like. All right, and you guys can tell me if this is off base, but you put out a solid handheld. I'm gonna say $349.99.
Yeah,
I would have said
it's the right price.
Yeah, and like I say $349 because the Portal is $200. Now, obviously, the Portal has the disadvantage that you can't download anything to it, and it has no native
storage
firmware. You can't do anything.
Yeah,
it is a blank slate that you.
It's crazy to me that thing can't even do like Netflix. Like that is so fucking odd.
Oh, but think that it's a very. I would imagine I'm in a very small minority of people that have tried this, so most people do not care. But I've used it, and I've got headphones plugged in, and I'm playing whatever. It's like, I'll listen to some music, and I'm like, my PlayStation has Spotify. I'll just play Spotify through my PlayStation. You can't stream Spotify through your Portal. It shuts off the game.
That's such a crazy thing.
That's crazy.
It brings you. It reminds you that it's literally just a controller for your system with a screen in it.
That's it.
Yeah,
that is it. And honestly, it's funny because that was kind of brought back as a reminder for me with the new PlayStation dashboard, because they have that one tile on the bottom that's right there. It's like, hey, here's your controller and here's the battery level. And I was using the Portal and I was like, right, this is just a fucking controller with a smartphone in the middle with no smart.
Yeah.
So anyway, what I think
350 is a good point.
That would get me back into the Xbox world.
Yeah.
Is like a cool handheld.
Yeah.
Do you think if they made that thing, would they do any kind of dock to hook it up to a TV like Steam Deck?
I think the dock would be the console.
Okay.
The console. Yeah. You want to play it on TV? Yeah. You got to buy the console box. Okay. Because why bother making a dock, which would cost another $100 at least
easily?
Yep.
And when it could do just as much like handheld. Just buy the console. Like, I get that that's a little off in price, but
it is.
If you just sell it like this is a handheld, you don't make any expectations of a dock, or maybe you do, and you just say, fine, all right, fine. You don't want to buy the console, so you can't use the console in your house to do anything else. It's just a dock. But then the dock would be like $200. So then I'd be like, well, maybe I would just buy the console. I don't know. There's a price level there somewhere they'd have to find.
There is. But I think Erik hit it right. I think in that 350 to 400 range, 400 would be the ceiling for it, I think.
I think as someone now who is a PlayStation user and has a Switch and will buy a Switch too, I would be far more interested in buying an Xbox handheld than I would a console. Especially if they're going to continue to do third-party stuff. I'll play the console stuff on my PS5, 6, whatever, and I would play that handheld too.
No, I can see that for sure. Our final email comes to us from Jordan from Redacted. So prepping you up already.
I love it. You know I love it.
Howdy, 572 crew. Listened for a long time, never had a chance to write in, but I'm beyond frustrated and could use some help. A lot of the stores in my district have closed or are closing, yet my store is remaining open. This has led to my store getting an overflow of product we do not need. I have so much overflow I can't barely fit anything in our back room. There's nowhere to walk. You have to squeeze through like you're Indiana Jones exploring a tomb or some shit. Point is, do you have any recourse on this? Do I have any recourse on this? My DL keeps saying it is what it is, but I simply have no more room. Who can I contact to maybe see this logically and stop have the excess overflow
OSHA
product from coming to my store?
You think OSHA fucks with GameStop? They don't fuck with GameStop.
Hell, I have so many headsets, they are literally to the ceiling on my floor and in my back room, and they are not selling. Thanks.
I mean, I'm partially serious.
An issue like this because
if there's an impediment, to the exit.
I don't know, man. I have seen fucked up shit at GameStops. I went to 8 years ago. I'm talking
572, man. That store had a always fucked up track to the back room.
Well, we didn't have a straight line was our problem.
Right.
So you had to go around a corner, past the desk, past accessories, past boxes.
Yep.
I mean, you want to talk about that? You talk about some of the stores that are still open around here where the back room is a closet and product was stored in a bathroom.
Yeah.
Or that's not even the worst I've seen. Remember the mall? Did you ever have to work at the mall, Kyle? Did you ever go to the mall?
I've been to it, but I never had to work it. The only other
I never had to work it
is, you want to talk about narrow exploring a tomb? There's shelves on one side, shelves on the other. It's maybe a 3-foot gap in the middle. And that's a hallway to get to a bathroom. There's no back door.
The one time that I worked at the store that you came from in the town over from us, I worked there one shift. It was I never did it again. I learned after that one time. I was like, never again. It was a Sunday shift, and I remember there was so much shit in this small closet of a back room that when I had lunch, I literally had to sit on a stack of systems with like some ghetto table just to have my lunch.
I never ate lunch in there. I would just go to the Chipotle and eat in there.
I just was like, whatever. I went and got my food and did that, but I'm just like, this is so ridiculous.
You could. There wasn't room to eat in there. I redid that back room like 3 or 4 times. I think the problem with this scenario that he's describing is there isn't really anything to do about it, because the logical thing would be to call another store and just be like, hey, I have 100 of these headsets. You have 5. Can I send you 10? But if they're all closing, this is a side effect of these stores closing, is other stores are going to get overloaded. Because if the point is to have these stores act like mini warehouses and distribution centers, then why not just have all the product in his store? They've closed shipping facilities. Those are gone too. There's no recourse to get rid of this.
And again, we don't know what his background was like. Like our store, we were very blessed to have like a big
our store was
comparison.
Big in general. I could have put more stuff up top if I really ever had to.
We had a like nicely sized store.
We were lucky.
We were very lucky.
I worked in ones that were twice as big as ours. I've worked in ones that were half the size of ours. My Game Crazy was a portion of a Hollywood Video. I've worked in some. You want to talk about back room? My back room was chain link fucking fence of maybe a 3x15 square or rectangle, like to the ceiling. That was fucked up. It was built wrong too. That's the best part. Didn't have support. If you shook the wall, everything would just fall up. Found that out the hard way when my manager got drunk one night and came into the store after. and came in and he slammed the gate shut and these GameCubes came fucking toppling off the top. And we had glass cases right here, and luckily it missed them all. And I finally would be like, you need to get the fuck out of here. Because, like, you're...
Yeah. Can you imagine getting killed by a GameCube?
God. Oh, that wasn't even the worst that happened in the store. Xboxes fell once and almost hit my buddy.
That sounds much worse.
That was much worse. It crushed. That crushed a box it fell under.
That sounds surprising.
But yeah, we were lucky to have a big enough store. But, like, I've been in places where it's stacked to the ceiling. You don't know what to do. Boxes on top of boxes. They're like... Even back in my day when it was more reasonable, there was no one you could email to be like, please take this stuff. You had to figure it out yourself and hope other stores could take it.
You had to start talking to your other stores, right. And hopefully you were, on good terms with them.
But if those stores don't exist, what can you do?
I know. That's the thing. It's like you're kind of just a warehouse for, I would assume, people doing online orders and... and then you're relying on, especially, we're speaking about headsets here. I can only imagine.
Headsets were bad when we were there, and I'm sure it's only 10 times worse.
It's
remember when we first started really getting headsets, and it was just like unstoppable.
I hated it because we would always have the customer that would do the round, as we called it, where they'd buy each single one, and then they'd be like, oh, the kid would be like, this one doesn't work. I'll exchange it for that one. And they'd literally go through them all, and you get to the end, like, well, it's over.
You're done.
Like, there is no other headset for you to buy, man.
Or we'd only get the $250 Astro headsets, and then they would be confused as to why we weren't selling $250 Astro headsets in the PS3 era.
I'm trying to remember if I ever sold one of those. They were just so expensive.
You would sell like one every so often, but then a lot of time they would just come back.
Yeah.
And it was because we had a terrible return policy for, headsets that people put on their fucking heads.
The headset thing, wasn't it like within 30 days you could, and we argued all the time, it should be like 7 max.
My argument with headsets is you bought it, you used it, too bad. Defective?
No, and I agree with that.
Defective, you go to the manufacturer, not here.
Yeah.
But
that would have been the wise choice. Maybe that's what it is to.
Well, the problem
changed.
I don't know. Maybe, but the problem is people would just break headsets. People, people are. This cloud core headset I'm wearing.
Yeah.
How old do you think this headset is?
Probably as old as since the one I bought mine in 2017.
Yeah, older. Mine's probably older. Still works.
That was probably when they first started bringing those out. Because I remember because they used to give you headsets like all the time when you went to the show.
Fucking everything.
And I remember when those were the big one year, because that was like the new, like, this thing's actually really
These
good.
These are fantastic, and they were like $60.
They're fantastic. I still use mine. Yeah.
Every time people would be like, "What's a good headset?" I'd be like, "The Cloud Course."
The Cloud Course. That was the one we would sell the most of because we all.
What about this one? Cloud Course.
You're gonna save money.
You're gonna save money, and it's better.
Yeah. So, especially like I remember the gold headset, and then the other thing too is like it's probably changed now, but remember when we worked there, if you bought one and then like, oh, I'm just gonna trade it in, they were worth nothing.
We didn't take
a lot of them.
We didn't take them back because when people were like, why not? Health issues. Yeah. I don't know how fucking dirty you are.
I remember the only time I ever did that. We did that for some SKUs.
Eric, you laugh, but you know that's what the reason. That's why I didn't want
the reason,
dude. Like some of our regulars, man, were dirty people.
Yeah, they were.
Yeah,
there's some fucking filth that would roll.
I would argue
that store
that if I knew you well enough that you were a regular, chances are I fucking hated you. For one reason or another, you fucked me. You fucked with me.
There was something that you did that would 90%, piss us off.
Because there was always like,
the returner or the guy that's going to come in and talk to you for 2 hours and you do not care. Like I have,
or the guy who would come in and brag about how I just burn all these games. I don't fucking care. Like you remember that guy, right? Him and his stupid kids.
Yes,
they would brag about. We've got 5 Xboxes and I only buy 2 copies and I burn them. And dude, I don't fucking care.
Yeah, you want just a level ever so slightly more pathetic than that. I before GameStop, I worked at a library, and I had a guy come up to me and brag to me that he would check out all the CDs from the library and burn them, and then bring them right back.
Cool.
And I'm like, "Cool, you got us, man!
Wow,
good job!
Awesome!
You're so you can rent these for free because it's a library."
You can do what you want.
We had a guy when I worked at Game Crazy and then Hollywood Video was over there. There was a guy who would come in every Tuesday because it was new release day, grab whatever the 5 new things were, Maybe, and this was when Hollywood had like a rental plan where you could have 5 out for X amount of dollars a month or whatever the fuck it was. You do that, go home, come back Wednesday. Here's all 5 of them. And you know what? The funny part was he was actually kind of a nice guy. But one day we finally were just like, "What are you doing?" And he's like, "Oh, I just burn them and I make copies and sell them." Oh, okay. Whatever, man. Sweet. We got our money. I don't really give a shit. Like, what you do?
Let me tell you what I did in that era. Since we're on that subject. So in that era, right before I got Netflix, and I had Netflix like maybe a year before they did streaming, because that's how I watched the X-Files originally, was all on TV.
Oh, hell yeah.
But before that, I did the Blockbuster thing. And the Blockbuster thing, until it became not worth it, was like you paid X amount of money a month. You could have 2 things out at a time for that time. But the key was whatever you rented, when you went and returned to the store, it's a free coupon for a new release rental. And so what I would do is exactly what you described. I would go, I'd rent stuff, I'd burn it, return it the next day, get my new rentals or whatever. And I did this for like 6 months. The problem was it was the end of the Blockbuster era, and they kept jacking the price up until it got to be like $40 or something. I'm like, I can't do it.
Because the Blockbuster in our area closed before the Hollywood did.
But to this day, I just found it the other day. I found the box of burned DVDs I have that are they're all burned DVDs, and then they just have the name. Like, here's the movie. So
awesome.
Do you remember the game crazy thing where you could you'd buy a system and you get 12 rentals for free?
That's pretty cool.
Yeah. And what if I told you those coupon sheets weren't really kept track of?
I was gonna say, or they never expired.
No, they did. To be fair, they did, but it gave you like 15 months. And depending on when you bought a system, if you bought it towards the end of the year, I would give you last year's and the next year's. But again, they didn't really keep track of those. So we weren't allowed to rent new games because or new movies. We got to check out movies beforehand before they came out.
Yeah,
but we couldn't check out games before they came out because of Street Date stuff. But gee, I just happen to have this coupon, and my dad just happens to have an account here. So why don't we just I got a new game.
What was the day that you would like the new release? Like you would have the day before the new release that you could check the stuff out.
We would generally have movies like 3 days before they would come out. You got to keep it for. I don't think it was 5, but I think it was like 2. But it would just be like we had a cabinet up at the front where it's just like, here's all the new shit. If you want something, grab it. But yeah, the games we weren't allowed to. But man, I have all these coupons. It's so weird. And then my dad had an account. That's so weird. Just run under there.
It's so weird.
And then my dad got hit with a bunch of late fees. Oh no! Nobody ever collected those because when we were leaving, my girlfriend at the time worked there, and she just went deleted. I told you that.
God.
The biggest scam in the world is video rental late fees. They're all fake. They all mean nothing. That's why when you went up there and they're like, you owe $30. I'm not paying $30. I can mark it to 15. Okay. No rules, man. They can mark it to 0. Yeah. Dumbass.
I'll say this, that's our final email, but I'll say this. For anybody out there that listens to this that is a developer that is working on these simulator games, make a fucking video store rental simulator. Because
we got on the topic today of talking about
my life.
The TCG
trading card
the TCG
one,
shop game, which I would love to play. I told you I saw the clips. My favorite clip was he's watching some customer look at the base packs, and the customer's thought is base packs are a little expensive, and he's like, well, yeah, well, screw you then. And the guy walks up and he buys like 15 packs of the cards.
Amazing.
And I'm just like, shit, dude, it's like real life. That is the most accurate representation of someone buying trading cards I've ever seen. Where, man, these are kind of expensive. Dumps them on the table. We're talking about how I'm currently on a quest. Eric knows I'm currently on a quest to buy 20-year-old baseball cards for like a RPG baseball game. And
sometimes I wake up to eBay screenshots.
Yeah. I'm scouring eBay, dude. This stuff, awesome. I'm actually kind of surprised more of this stuff doesn't exist. I didn't think it was as popular, but like just finding individual base packs is very difficult. And one guy has them for like 24 a pack for 9 cards, but he has make an offer on there. And I gotta think nobody else is fucking buying this shit right now. I'm just on like some kind of weird. What happened was my I used to play with my friend all the time, and I left all my cards at his house, I guess. I didn't even realize until one day his wife texted me, and she's like, I think I have all your baseball cards. And I was like, oh, shit. Nice. So I have to go get them. But like now I'm on this path of finding new stuff. But there's no way people are buying these individual packs for $25. Come on, man.
Well, it's a combination.
Give me 10 for
It's a combination of that TCG game and then like the updates I was reading for you for Supermarket today. But then it just dawned on me. I'm like, how is one made a video store?
I want a video store rentals simulator, but I want it set in like 2001.
Yep.
Okay.
And I want to be able to mod it to look like a Hollywood video. That's what I want. I would pay you $40 for that game right now.
That's fair. I would
because I would get fucking lost in that game. Don't make me a GameStop simulator. I don't want to work that job again. But I will work Hollywood video rentals.
Make it a Hollywood and let me add a game crazy.
I want to check stuff out. I want to set up concession stands. I want to put movies back on the shelf.
Yeah.
I want to do inventory. I want to do the tedious fucking shit.
I want to have the new release Tuesdays, but then have people that are mad when they come in and they can't get the movie because we're out.
I want that. I want them to be like, well, why can't I just buy the movie? I want to mark movies to PV so that they have to buy them.
The previously viewed. I want to see people fighting around the return bin.
I want to have to go outside in the winter and empty the return bin and bring it inside
after a snowstorm. I'm like, that sucks, but I kind of still, exactly.
You know, I never technically worked there, but I had so many friends there that I would just I closed Game Crazy at 9:00 and I would just hang out till fucking midnight at the house. What was I gonna do? I was a loser. What was I gonna do?
Yeah.
Still am.
I would pay for that game too.
I would pay you $40
that would be amazing. Yeah, I would.
And then you have to go through and these are the new movies coming out next week, and they just be procedurally generated, and you just I need 10 of those. I want 5 of those. Hell yeah.
Well, one of the big things they updated in Supermarket Simulator today is instead of you can only order up to 10 things at a time. They've updated to 50.
Oh shit! Your back room's gonna be jumping.
Get
that yogurt, Kyle.
I'm gonna be losing it when I go back. I literally looked at it today. I'm like, I can't do this today. We won't be recording a podcast.
To be fair though, that trading card game one does look fucking fit.
It looks
My
amazing.
Favorite thing about it is you can just go to the shelf and pick it back up and open it.
Well, the thing too is they put out a trial out. But I if I'm gonna go, I'm gonna just buy it. I don't need to play a trial. But it's not even the cost. It's $12. It's just I know what will happen if I buy it. That's why I haven't bought it.
Because I just love it.
I'm going to wait until it's out of early access.
Wait for a couple updates, I would say. Probably the way Supermarket Simulator is a far better game now.
Is banging now than it did when it started.
But even in this game, you can host events and there's you have tables set up where people can play. There's I think there's even a mechanic where people in there can smell and you have to go over and tell them to get out.
Kyle, the one that I bought is the same one that you play, right? The Supermarket Sim.
Yes,
you bought the correct one. Be careful.
You bought the correct one. There is one other one that also has an internet cafe attached to it. I hear it's not bad as well, but the most popular one is the one.
There's also a multiplayer one, which just seems like a fucking mess. But
I need to try that. Yeah, I'm supposed to try that with Matt. Yeah. We haven't tried that yet. Well, there's the gym. Do you know about the gym one? Did I tell you about that one, Eric?
That one, yeah.
And then I told Matt, I was like, you should check this out. He totally bought the wrong one.
Oh no.
And then he's just like, I don't understand, where's this element? I'm like, send me a shot of what you bought. And he sent me, and I'm like, that's not the game I was talking about.
That's the only danger with this stuff is
you have to be careful because there are so many copies.
Yeah.
But I cannot believe in the world that we live in with how many copies and different ones, there's not a single person, especially when I see YouTube videos all the time, people I turn my basement into a fucking video store because I love Blockbuster, and that kind of shit. Nobody has had the light bulb go over the head. What if we made a video store simulator game?
All right. Get on Fiverr and start hiring people.
Call Kevin Smith.
There you go.
It's the Clerks game.
Get the convenience
Kyle, I would
store
like you to know that there is already a Pokemon mod out for the TCG game, so you can just change all into Pokemon card packs.
I'm not shocked by that.
I mean, that's incredible. That's the content people want. Oh, I would assume there's probably a magic one. There'd have to be.
Okay.
Right?
Now, if you want to really get me into it, I'll fucking flip my keyboard Star Wars customizable
Get that in there.
card game.
Some Yu-Gi-Oh
Yeah,
stuff.
that's a real
That was
card
my
game
shit
for
with that.
men.
It was, yes, and by that I mean boys that lived in religious households that couldn't play Magic the Gathering.
That's all we had.
They played
bro.
Star Wars. Yes,
That's all we
I had Magic. I had Magic the Gathering because I was the devil.
there you go.
Yeah, you grew up in a heathen
I had a
household.
card
You grew up
store
in a heathen
within
household.
walking distance to my house when I was like
fucked
10.
up.
It was fucked
That's
up. I bought
fucked
a
up.
lot of fucking Magic cards.
I had nothing.
Then I sold them all.
I had nothing cool in walking distance
I had a pizza place,
at all.
a community video, which was a video rental store, which had an adult room in the back, and the card shop.
Hell yeah, yeah. You had
We
that,
had-
which now is a pizza place.
Yeah,
The
We
other
had a dollar
pizza place.
video.
It wasn't that pizza place when you were a kid.
it
though,
was
right? It was something else.
Hoggies before it became
Okay.
Dino's.
Dino's we
Hoggies.
all know and love.
Just checking.
Which
Honkies is a different
I-
place.
not
Okay.
here did I have anything that was in like bike limits, but when I lived southern part of the state was when I was able to bike to Family Video, and that was amazing.
Yeah.
And I did that all the fucking time until it got to be winter. Then I'd just be like, it's Friday, we gotta go to Family Video, and we would.
Take me.
Oh, that was just, like, it got to a
Take
point
me
where
for a
like I didn't
ride.
even ask. It was just like a known thing. Like, it's Friday, I'm getting picked up from school. We're going to Family Video, and I'm probably gonna spend an hour there. To the point that like there would be times where like my mom would just go home and come back because she knew I was going to be there. We were talking. We'll end on this. We were talking about this like a couple weeks ago when I was visiting my parents about how when I lived, whenever I'd go visit my grandma and I'd stay there, she like the amount of things I think back on now are like she let me do this when I was like in third grade. Like you would never let a kid that age do this today. She would give me money and let me walk up to the video store because she learned very quick after the first time she took me there, he's going to be there for like 2 fucking hours and she don't want to stay there. But then across the street, and fairly busy street, and I wouldn't think of this as a kid, but you think of it as a adult, like it's kind of fucked up. On Fridays, she would give me money and to go pick up our dinner, which would be fried chicken because she was big into fried chicken. That was at a bar.
Nice.
I would just go to this bar as a kid and give them money to pick up her order. I'm like, I was in like third fucking grade.
The 90s were different, man.
90s were a different time. Would you send like I wouldn't send my kid to a bar now to pick up. Are you kidding me?
Yeah.
Like,
No.
and that was the thing too. Like, and the best part of the video store is like my grandma didn't give a shit. So like, I'd walk up there and rent like all sorts of wrestling tapes and shit that my parents probably would be like, he doesn't need to watch this. We just had that conversation. The amount of things that I watched as a kid that I probably shouldn't have when I go there because they didn't know.
I mean,
like,
luckily now you're a normal, well-adjusted adult.
Absolutely.
What if I told you that TCG has 96% overwhelmingly positive reviews?
That sounds accurate.
Sounds low.
Like people seem to
100.
The people that are playing that game love it, just like the people like me that are playing Super Mario Simulator love that game. So, and again, you want to see a game that gets 100% positive? Make the video store game.
God,
like make it. There has to be someone out there. I just cannot believe it doesn't
if
exist.
you're not aware how video stores work, write us in. I can tell you everything, man.
Yeah, like we can
devote tell you all about
an hour of this podcast.
I can tell you about the customers
just talking about
you need to program into the game that will ruin your fucking day.
Absolutely. As always, send your emails into podcast572@gmail.com. I want to thank Erik for joining us as the VIP of this week.
VIP.
And we will be back in another 2 weeks for another edition of the podcast. Thank you for listening.
Thank you, everyone.
Or watching.